Welcome to the Horse Frog Podcast. I'm Kamran.
And I'm Billy.
Billy, what would you say we do here?
Well, we like to dig deep into a bunch of books and shows and movies that we love.
In excruciating detail, right?
In excruciating detail. And we like to talk about things that we like about them, what they make us think, and what we learn from them. And a lot of times we're going to go off topic, but we're going to bring it back in. Basically, it is just two guys hanging out talking about their favorite stuff. And it's not meant to be a replacement for anything. It's meant to be a companion to anything that we're talking about, any shows, any movies, any books that we're talking about. And we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show with us.
One final note before we begin the episode. If you would like to support our show, we have a Patreon set up. You can find the link at horsefrogproductions.com. You can also email us with any feedback at contact@horsefrogproductions.com. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description. Today we are covering The Boys, the Amazon Prime show, Season 3, Episode 2. As is tradition, prior to covering episodes of this show, we like to give a little warning. This show is intended for a mature audience and has extreme violence in today's episode, and some scenes of sexual misconduct. If these topics upset you, then we do not recommend you continue listening. We have several corrections and additions today. We had some pending items that we needed to get back on. In Season 2, Episode 8, we were discussing a Q score, and we didn't know what scale they were using for the Q score. When people take a Q score survey, they have a number of questions that they answer. They have A, B, C, D, E, and F. So A is one of my favorites. B is very good. C is good. D is fair. E is poor. And F is never heard of. The positive Q score is calculated by counting how many respondents answered A divided by the number of respondents answering A through E and calculating the percentage. So it ultimately ends up being a percentage. And the higher the number, the more favorably you are viewed by the people that are taking the survey. I also needed to look up what hatred of musicals is called. Now, we do have the definition for fear of musicals.
Yes.
That's melophobia, right?
Yes. Melophobia.
I could not find any medical citation of a term for irrational hatred of musicals, but I did find a term for hatred of sounds. The specific examples that they gave were things like the sounds of somebody else eating, or I guess it could be any noise in particular. It really makes you cringe. Based on that, I'm going to guess that melophonia is the word you would use to describe the straight hatred of musicals, but I couldn't find any citation. I guess I could have searched for that word and to see if...
Well, I guess that's true. All I did was I looked up a term for an irrational hatred, because I don't know. Because I think of phobias as being an irrational fear of, so therefore I think of an irrational hatred. So I searched using that criterion. I could find the list irrational hatred, my irrational hatred of this and that. But it was used in that way in all the examples. So I could find, and again, there was more talks about indoctrination, like you might hate things because you were indoctrinated. My parents didn't hate musicals. They just didn't watch a lot. And so I was not taught to hate them. I just came up on that myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not all musicals. It's just the majority of them for me.
Right.
Yeah. Melophonia only comes up when you search. It's a band.
Interesting. Heavy metal, I'm assuming.
Limelight Disco Symphony.
No. Oh, never mind. I was going to say, for some reason, I kind of thought of like some kind of heavy metal band, and I can imagine some real atrocious looking like logo that looks like tree roots all over the place.
Yeah, 1978 vinyl release. So I guess this is from the funk era. We'll have to look that album up and then come back on that. Okay.
There you go.
So it's not a real word. Maybe that's one of our new words.
Hey, we'll work on that. We're working on I need to keep an encyclopedia. I'm losing track of the coinage.
No, we got the Glenn Close effect, or GCE, and the Hauer effect.
The Hauer effect.
All right. The next item that was pending, I had a task of reporting back on drinking LaCroix with lime juice after we saw Mr. Edgar have some. It was pretty good.
It looked delightful,
It was
it?
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it delightful or just good? I don't know what qualifies as good versus delightful.
I'm trying to quantify delightful in my mind.
I don't know. I'm not sure where you cross the line from good to delightful.
I'm gonna have to think on that one. It was delicious, but
Okay.
I don't know if it was delightful, but I can't name
delightful,
anything.
You might
Tell me what is delightful to you. Give me a delightful drink.
Coca-Cola. I need it daily first off, and it brings me joy. I look forward to drinking one. I'm drinking one on the side now.
Okay.
So to me, that is it's delicious. But if you're looking forward to it, is that a delight? I don't know. I don't know where you cross that.
Yeah, I think it's the way it's received by the individual.
If you're thinking about doing it again, I guess you're looking forward again.
I did it again. I did it twice.
Oh, okay. So you're maybe moving toward delightful.
Possibly. Maybe I work outside on an extremely hot day, and I come inside, and it would be delightful if it was waiting for me.
Right.
On the counter.
Well, that's exactly. There are those moments like that when things hit. When things just hit like that, and I get
so it's a whole experience.
I think that's delightful.
Yeah, yes, it's not simply the drink itself; it's the whole experience. Okay,
right. And now we were talking. It was an episode, season 2, episode 5, and we were instead of which Golden Girl you'd be, which Frenchie was talking with his friends. That I cannot remember the girl's name and the guy's name, but his buddies. I know it's the girl that's with him now.
And Jay.
Cherie, thank you. Okay, so Cherie and Jay, he's which Golden Girl you'd be, and you and I, of course, we talked in depth about that, and like we didn't have a. I'd never watched the show, so I didn't know. We referred to A-Team people, and we talked, and I brought up George Papard because we dig George Papard, and I brought up a movie called. It was looking for the name of it. It's called The Blue Max. I forget what I initially called it wrongly.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that you had the name of it. You said it was something about the Red Baron, though. That's all I remember.
Yeah. It's a biplane era World War I gentleman duelist of the sky kind of film from the German side. And but that movie actually scores 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's 3 years older than me exactly. It came out on my birth date in '66.
That's 100% user score?
Yeah, 100% Rotten Tomatoes score.
So that's the critic side, or that's both? Which one is the?
I'm so sorry. I don't know. I honestly do not know. I just typed it in on Google.
I think that's the critic score you're talking about. Okay.
And when it says Rotten Tomatoes, as a matter of fact, I have it pulled up right now. It just says Rotten Tomatoes in general. It has IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and Voodoo score, and then the Google users, which Google users is important to me. 84% of Google users like it. Sometimes you'll get it. Sometimes you'll see 100% Rotten Tomatoes, and it's too artsy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cowboys eating pudding.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Made for film connoisseurs by film connoisseurs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Episode 2. The episode begins with a movie made for TV promo. The announcer says, this Thursday on VOT TV, television for women. We see the Deep. He's sitting in Alistair Adana's office. He says, I guess I'm just searching for a more purposeful life, Mr. Adana. Alistair is in his office chair. He's turned away from the Deep. He turns around, and we can see it is none other than VOT B-movie favorite Billy Zane himself playing Alistair Adana.
Dude, I so love seeing him creep up in these Amazon shows so much. I'm always just dying to see where he's going to crop up next. I love seeing him here.
Yeah, and as a quick reminder for those of you that might not have listened to season 1 or 2, I guess it was predominantly season 1 he was in.
Yeah,
he played a character in Terminal Beauty 3, which was he co-starred in with Pop Claw. And then later that season, he showed up at a Comic-Con where he was signing autographs next to Mesmer. So he was in The Boys a couple times already.
Yeah, and that's when the people were hugging him very uncomfortably.
He had a male and a female fan, and they were taking pictures. The male fan got real huggy on him, and he just got to turn his head to the side and grimaced a little bit. That's great.
He just took it. I love it. I love it. It makes me just love this guy. Every time I see him, I just love him more. As he gets older, popping up here and there, I'm like, I just love this guy. I don't know why. I need a Pulp Fiction John Travolta resurrection of a career on Billy Zane.
He's getting it right now, man.
Yeah, he is. He's got to get it.
No, that was an epic level comeback for John Travolta,
dude. Yeah, it was, and also for Samuel L. I mean, it was really not even he wasn't even a comeback. He was just what made him. He was been out for a while, but Travolta, that was epic. Such a good movie.
Something popped up the other day. It was Samuel L. Jackson talking about how he got into Star Wars. Because you wouldn't think of Samuel L. Jackson being cast in that role. No. But apparently, somehow he had met, I think he was doing some work around where George Lucas, his ranch is. And somehow he ended up over there. And he was talking to George Lucas. And he said, I just want to be in one of your movies. It could be a stormtrooper. Nobody has to know. I just want to be in one of your movies. And George Lucas says, okay, I'll make it a part for you. And then they call him in. They say, George is ready for you to be in the movies. They bring him into kind of this room and they say, okay, here are your robes. Try them on. He goes, oh, they didn't tell him anything about it. They're like, oh, he's like, I'm going to be a Jedi. And he's like, that's pretty cool. And then they're like, all right, here, pick your lightsaber. Right. He's like, oh, I get to pick my own light. I mean, like, basically, they didn't tell him anything. And all of a sudden, he's just like a Jedi master. It's pretty cool the way he told the story.
That would be really cool. Because what is so great about the new season, the new stuff, is that who all is in the cameos. Because, Daniel Craig's one of the stormtroopers in the first of the number 8? What is it? What's that new? The first of the new one, 8, 9, or is it 7, 8, 9?
He was the one that had he was fighting. What's his name? Didn't
he have him in the prison cell?
Wait, I thought the Daniel Craig character was the one that had that crazy baton thing, and he was like swinging it around. Do you remember that?
I'm not sure. I do remember the guy swinging it around, but I thought he was just the guy that was the stormtrooper that was in the jail cell with.
Oh, I'll have to go back and look.
The young black kid. Okay. Whatever his name is. I can't remember the character's name.
It's John Boyega is the actor, and I guess don't care enough to remember what his character's name was.
It's funny. Sad. I was entertained by them, but it's like I don't remember the characters' names. But I was entertained by the movies that I've seen so far. So
we'll have to go back and we'll come back on who that was. But yeah, even in the Mandalorian, the amount of cameos they have, crazy amount.
Yeah, it's pretty epic, dude. And they're starting to pan out because you said you didn't do Boba Fett yet.
I did not. No,
dude, that's such a great. That's I can't say. I don't want to say anything.
Okay, I'll watch it. It shouldn't take too long. So. Yeah.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
I hand wave my kids all the time. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Does it ever work?
No, they start laughing.
Move along.
Alistair Donna says, the Church of the Collective can offer you so much more. We can offer you a family. There's a scene with the Deep getting married. Alistair is presiding over the wedding. The preview shows an underwater shot, and the text on the screen says, a new life comes at a deep price.
Oh, it's bad, dude. It's great.
There's a scene of the Deep and his wife, Cassandra. They're sitting in a restaurant. He looks out the window and sees someone looking at them. Via voiceover, the Deep says, Mr. Adana, tell me the truth. Are you having me followed? The music turns ominous. Alistair says, I had to find out if you were putting the church first, before your career, before everything. We see the Deep and Cassandra walking down the street at night. The Deep turns around and a man is following them. The text now says, based on the Deep's best-selling memoir. Yeah, I believe it's best-selling. Sure.
Well, you know how the L. Ron Hubbard books get such big sales, right? It's the Scientologists buy them by the crates.
Okay. What do they do with them?
They just, I don't know. They stock their house with them. I got no idea. Line the walls.
Yeah, maybe it's a good insulation.
It could very well be. I don't really know, but it's about all. It's going to be good. I'm so sorry I shouldn't say that. But as far as I'm aware, I have read L. Ron Hubbard. I have read Battlefield Earth. I was entertained. I've read it twice. It was very entertaining. It's a pulp science fiction novel that's very entertaining. It's very forgettable, but it's very entertaining at the same time. It's pulp. What do you want, dude?
The Deep is in Alistair's office again and angrily says, you branded me with your initials. It's enough.
Is that in reference to that Nexium cult?
You are going to have to tell me about this because it doesn't ring a bell.
I've only heard about it because there's a couple of documentary series. One of them's on HBO Max. It's spelt like I have it spelt there, the NXIVM. But it's some kind of it started out like some kind of marketing thing. And like these guys are, get this group of people together, a bunch of, up and coming executive types. They apparently kind of get indoctrinated to this lifestyle of, it's like I said, it starts out as it's like some kind of scheme, almost like a Ponzi scheme or something. But then it turns into a sex cult. And these women get
is that the one where they were getting the actresses? They were basically like turning them into slaves. And somebody recently
they would get branded with these people, with this man who's in jail now. But they were branded with his initials.
Wasn't there some actress from the CW that was implicated in that? She was the one that was recruiting the girls.
I think so. I believe so. I'm not sure what she was from, but yes, there may have been more than one.
That's crazy, man.
There may have been multiples, but there's a really good documentary. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched about 2 or 3 episodes on the HBO Max. It's well done, but I think there's one on Hulu or Netflix. I don't know. There's 2 or 3 of them.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that was the name of the cult. I just had heard about that one aspect of it.
That's going to be, that's related to that cult. Okay. I don't know a whole lot. I didn't get too much deeper, but yes, it involved.
Deeper. You didn't get deeper?
It may have been more than one. I did not get deeper. Thank you. That was deep enough. I watched 2 or 3 episodes of that. It's pretty gnarly stuff. That these women basically just kind of became like, sex slaves, like we just said.
I was making a joke about the Deep's memoir. It's called Deeper.
Oh no, I know that. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I completely over my head. I was too deep. It went over.
Alistair says, I am afraid that you have become a toxic personality, Deep. He turns his chair around dismissively and is no longer facing the Deep. He's doing this strange accent while he's playing Alistair. Did you notice that?
Yes, I did. It's great. It's great. I want to meet Billy Zane really badly now in particular.
Would you hug up on him like that one fan?
If he would let me. I would tell him, I'm like, dude, I am so sorry, but I have to do it. It's kind of like it's kind of like laying on that money in Breaking Bad. It's like, dude, I got to do it. I'm sorry.
The Deep says, then you've left me no choice but to run. Why is that his only choice? He's a superhero. I don't get it. We see a scene of the Deep trotting down the street. He's not even running. It's definitely not a Tom Cruise run. A man in a suit is chasing him.
Oh.
We see some flashes of scenes with the Deep displaying his range of emotions while he's acting. He's angrily hitting the wall in one. Cassandra's in the background holding her hands over her face, or she's holding them over her mouth in concern. In another one, he's holding Cassandra and crying. Finally, he's looking out the window, and it appears that he has made a decision. He has a determined look on his face.
Well, do you notice that it's like this is every other Lifetime movie ever made?
Yes.
It's the exact same angles, the exact same cuts. I love it, man. It's great.
Yeah.
I want to see this. I really want to see this. Cool. As bad as I want to see Not Without My Anus. It's more than I want to see that one. I hate that one. I really hate that episode.
Finally, we see a scene with Alistair and the Deep, both of them with their hands on a table, and they're facing off. It's got a Bronx Tale feel to it. Do you remember the posters for that movie?
I do not. I'm so sorry.
Where it had Robert De Niro on one side and Chaz Palminteri on the other side?
I've not seen that. No, I don't know that movie.
You haven't seen a Bronx? You have to watch that movie. We'll talk about it later. But if anybody listening to this has not seen A Bronx Tale, you have to watch it. It's awesome. And it's based off of Chaz Palminteri's childhood.
Really? And I love Chaz. I love Chaz Palminteri, dude.
He wrote that story, and he would not sell it to the movie studio. I wasn't going to go into this, but I'm going to do it. He wouldn't sell it to the movie studios. They kept lowballing him.
Okay.
So he started doing a one-man play in Hollywood where he played all the characters.
Wow.
And people kept showing up. One day, Robert De Niro shows up, and then he finishes. Robert De Niro comes backstage, and he says, how about I direct this and you can play Sonny. Sonny's the mob character in that. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to play Sonny. And I think they were trying to get Chaz to either not be in it or have somebody else play a character that he wanted to play Sonny, if I remember correctly. So that's how it got made. Robert De Niro directed it.
Now with Palminteri, I don't know a lot of his stuff, but you and I agree that we both think one of his greatest movies, Usual Suspects.
Yeah, that was,
that your introduction?
I believe, the next movie that he was in after Bronx Tale. I think I saw Bronx Tale first.
Okay, for me,
I remember when it came out, and I saw Bronx Tale first because my dad is a really big Robert De Niro fan. I think that's why we saw it when it came out.
For me, the first time I think I really saw him would have been the remake of Diabolique. It's Sharon Stone and Kathy Bates and Chaz Palminteri, and it's a remake of a French movie. It's a really great French horror movie. I say horror movie. It's a really cruel. Palminteri is a really cruel headmaster who's married to. She got Sharon Stone in the American version, and I forget Isabella Rossellini is the wife. But he has an affair with Sharon Stone character, and this is on the table for everyone to see and know about. He's that kind of cruel man, and then they plan his murder, and then when they murder him, then the body is not to be found. And it's a fantastic flick. They need to see now. If you get a chance to see the French version, the French version is way better, but the remake, it turned me on to Palminteri. So he's a sadistic son of a gun in that one, though.
Okay. The announcer says, "Not without my dolphin." Brought to you by Lean Lady Frozen Dinners by Vought. Now, I laughed out loud at this title. Obviously, the "Not Without My Dolphin" is pretty funny, but I was particularly laughing because it reminds me of a movie, a serious movie, but it's called Not Without My Daughter. It was a movie that had Sally Fields in it. I
remember that.
Where she married an Iranian man, and then they go to Iran. They had a kid together, and then he was trying to keep the daughter there, and she wouldn't leave without the daughter, so she had to try to escape the country. Yes. Yep. And I also have to wonder, why is this movie being marketed on this network when The Deep has the past that he does?
Well, now it has been a year since season 2. Maybe his, they've shown him in a kind of transitory way, possibly doing better number speaking than Homelander per se. When he got to go first in that last episode, and so that's not something that ever happened. So maybe there was that, and the thing that caught my eye was, I didn't even think about it, was the Lean Lady? Brought to you by the Lean Lady Frozen Dinners. So what is this our demographic saying about our Vought TV demographic here?
They're Americans.
Thank you. That was a nice and kind way of saying it.
You need to know.
You are correct, sir.
The scene changes and we see Homelander. He says, "Tonight, simulcast live across VBS, VTV, VNN, Vought Soul, and Votamundo."
Vought Soul, baby. Soul train.
We haven't seen that yet.
I have not seen that one. Okay.
Join me for my annual birthday spectacular, along with my co-captain Starlight, as well as Emerald Lagasse, Rascal Flatts, Supersonic, the cast of Riverdale, Dame Judi Dench, and, of course, my dear friend Black Noir. The broadcast says hashtag Homelander B-Day at the bottom of the screen. We see that the TV airing the broadcast is in Butcher's apartment. Butcher is looking in the cookie jar that contains the vials of V24. He takes one vial out and he's looking at it. He gets a smile on his face. Homelander starts talking to him from the TV. He says, "Hey, William, damn the pusher, man. Am I right? You really going to shoot that in your veins?" Butcher looks at the TV and says, "I think I just might." Homelander says, "Odds are you'll die screaming." Butcher has a syringe. He draws some of the V24 into the syringe from the vial. He says, "Well, I've gambled more for less." Homelander says, "I don't think you're going to do it. Turn yourself into a soup? That's a new low even for you." Butcher takes off his belt and uses it as a tourniquet on his arm. He tells Homelander, "Oh, I can go lower. I can go straight to hell." Homelander clicks his tongue and rolls his eyes. Butcher sticks the syringe in a vein in his arm. We hear another voice say, "Butcher, you have to stop. Please, for Becca. This would break her heart." The TV has a teen on it, one we haven't seen before. Do you think this is Butcher's deceased younger brother, Lenny?
That is what I assumed.
Okay. Yeah, X-ray was not helpful.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I didn't pause it in X-ray, so it didn't say anything. It just say young guy.
It just said teenager. I think is all it said.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think
it's going to have to be Lenny.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be.
Butcher says, Becca don't care what I do. She's dead. He shoots the V24 into his vein, and we can see his vascular system glowing gold as it spreads. His eyes turn gold, and he begins screaming. He wakes up on the couch, and we see it was all a dream. There's a Skype ringtone playing in the background. Butcher walks to his computer and answers it. It's Ryan. Butcher says, hello, love. A bit early, isn't it? Ryan says, you said I could call you after 8. It's 8:03.
I love it.
Butcher looks at his watch and says, yeah, right you are. He looks over at the cookie jar containing the V24 and stares at it for a moment. Ryan asks, are you okay? Butcher says, yeah, hunky-dory. Why? Ryan says, you look tired. Butcher tells him, just had a naff night. That's all. No sleep. Ryan asks, did you watch the video I made? Butcher looks at a file he has saved on his desktop and says, no. I ain't had a chance yet. The file is named Running Late. Ryan says, I think you should watch it. It kind of helps me when I don't sleep so good. Butcher impatiently says, yeah, look, I told you I'll watch it later. Ryan picks up on his tone and looks worried. He asks, are you mad at me? This brings Butcher back around. He says, no, of course not. Look, you're your mother's son, and I'll always watch out for you. Just how I promised, all right? Ryan smiles again. Butcher looks back over at the cookie jar again. He looks worried.
Yeah, I like those little interactions with those two.
Yeah, it shows some growth on Butcher's part, I think.
It does. It shows a lot.
Yeah.
It shows him that he really genuinely cares about this young kid.
Yeah.
It's his last tie to his late wife. I get it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Ryan's a good kid anyway.
He's a really nice kid, man.
Yeah.
That's, you would want to work hard to make that guy be a nice kid. So hopefully he would turn out being the guy you want with the powers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Homelander visits Stormfront in her room at the Vought Tower. He says, hey there, sleepyhead. Rise and shine. Big day. Anything a little extra special about today? She gives him no indication that she has noticed he's there. After waiting a bit, he says, it's my birthday, silly. No response. He says, okay. Just blink if you want to wish me a happy birthday. She doesn't blink. He looks at her for a while, then he gets frustrated, then says, okay, and walks out. We get a shot of Stormfront from above, and we can see there is a tear rolling down her cheek from her remaining eye. She slowly blinks, but he's not there to see it. That was kind of messed up.
That's really, yeah. Well, first off, the one thing I noticed in this before even her just crying there, did you notice that her breathing was real? I didn't notice it the first time we saw her last episode, but her breathing was real harsh.
Yes, it was very labored.
Yes, it's what, and I didn't notice that previously because she was so optimistic sounding previously when she was getting all psyched up about the Fourth Reich again. But,
Yeah, this time she seems to have lost some of that vitality that she had remaining from last episode.
Her joie de vivre.
Yeah.
We'll go deep on that one. Joie de vivre.
Starlight is speaking to Huey in his apartment. The first thing I notice, it's the morning. Huey hasn't used his exercise bike, and there are dirty dishes in the sink. His life that was on the up and up is now cascading into chaos after the revelations that happened in the last episode. Yeah. Starlight says, okay, so Red River is a group home owned by a Vought subsidiary, of course. Starlight is looking through the paperwork. She has a paper from Red River Administration Services addressing Madeline Stillwell from February 23rd of 1998. Starlight continues, I guess that's where Vicky grew up. Huey says, you mean Nadia? God, I'm a f***ing idiot. I should have seen it. Huey has got a bad attitude this episode.
He does, but he is, man, think about this, how this last episode ended. Him not quite covered, but he has the propensity of being near people getting turned inside out and blown up and everything else. And, and this guy's had a good year of nobody getting murdered and brutally in front of him, you know, and then this woman he's been working with and gotten close to turns out to be this villain, and you're like, oh, that's got to put you in a bad spot.
I think my specific issue is the language that he's using about himself.
He is kind of on his, I'm such an idiot, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like. He's very. Yeah, me and you both agreed on the overheightening of some things later on.
Yeah, but
with Huey,
the way you say things is the way you think things, and this is telling me his mental state is not what I'd like to see from him.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand being a little bit upset. Yeah, yes. You're right. He, somebody that I think he was very fond of her. Right, they had a very good rapport.
All the sandwich stuff that we saw, I love that stuff. Dude. I love seeing him happy. I mean, I thought that was going to become a romantic entanglement problem.
Yeah,
and it probably would have if we'd have gone longer. But I thought that we just had to turn someone inside out, so at least it bypassed that.
Can you imagine if they would have let it go on where he didn't find out and there was a romantic entanglement problem? Then he finds out.
Dude, I kind of would have liked that, wouldn't you?
Well, I thought you didn't want that soap opera. That's the next level.
Part of me does. It is, but it's like it's different if done properly. It's fun. And like I said, they've done. Like I said, even though I do fuss a wee bit about this show this season being a little harsher, dude, it's still a great show. It's just, I think it's just an overwhelming sometimes to be so harsh. And they go there. I'm just so used to shows not going there anymore. It's like no, these guys go there.
Yeah.
But the thing I kind of noticed here would you call it a role reversal with him and Starlight?
Yes, I would say in terms of positivity towards the future, yes. She seems to be kind of holding him up.
And then also the physicality side.
Well, the physicality side she's always been stronger than him, right? So
she's always been stronger than him, but it's like, are they playing this up more?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Starlight, who is actually thinking clearly, says, "How could you have seen this?" Huey says, "I don't know. Maybe when she killed Rayner or when she blew up Congress." After he says this, the toast in the toaster pops up and is burned. He says, "Damn it," and takes the toast out of the toaster, and he burns his hands in the process. Starlight says, "Maybe we leak it to the Times." Huey says, "No, she could head pop everybody in the office, me included." He picks up a jar and can't open it. Starlight puts out her hand. Now, this is the first instance we've seen of the jar issue, and this is exactly what you and I were just referencing. They're going to come back to this again later in the episode. Once I get it. But they're going to kind of push it a little bit.
Is it like three times?
Three times he can't open jars this episode.
Okay.
And I get one. Okay, sure.
I do.
He's not as strong.
I've had my moments,
but like,
hey, I've had those.
But yeah, on a new jar. But some of them are opened already, and when they're already opened, likely you're not going to have as much trouble getting them open.
I would hope not.
It's just they're really pushing it. Yeah. Starlight says, "Wait, you're going in? Call in sick." She opens the jar for him. He says, we have an all-hands call at 3:00. I've never missed one before. Huey starts putting the jam on the toast with no butter. What kind of an animal does not put butter on their toast before they put jam on it? Do you put jam on your toast without butter on it?
I'm like, what kind of animal does that to toast?
Oh, great. So we have a disagreement here. This is awesome. Okay.
Now, see, I love toast with butter.
Okay.
Or I love toast with jam or preserves.
Why don't you love them together?
I will do it, but I don't like them together for some reason. I can't explain myself.
So I'm an abomination? Is that what you're saying?
I said, you said what kind of animal doesn't do that? I'm like, well, what kind of animal does that to toast? I know I'm probably alone on this, by the way. I am very well aware of my food pickiness. I have some strange food pickiness.
I don't know.
And I think that's a very food picky.
I bet you if we had a group of 1,000 people, it'd probably be like 50-50 or some ridiculous thing it's like either or. Some people probably just don't like butter.
Now, see, I love. Now I'm not that guy. I love butter, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Butter's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Butter is amazing. But I enjoy the butter by itself with bread sometimes, or with a good toast, or like I say, I don't know why I don't enjoy the combination. I think it just kind of makes it a little bit more softer, in my opinion. And it's just I'm a texture guy with food. I have a hard time sometimes
Mm.
due to this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I avoid things that texturally bother me.
Okay. There was that Anthony Zimmern show. What was the name of that one? The one where he goes around the world tasting foods that are really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I could never be that guy.
What it really was interesting to me is he is also a texture guy. And
Okay.
he was traveling around the United States. You know what his Achilles heel is?
What?
After all the stuff I've seen him eat, fermented shark meat and this, that, and the other, eyeballs, random bits fried of offal, whatever it is, oatmeal. He can't stand the texture of oatmeal. That's his Achilles heel.
And that one doesn't bother me. That's kind of funny.
It's benign tasting, right?
See, I've always been real bummed out that we never had the thing for the Jetsons. I always wanted was just I wanted that great healthy meal in a pill, in a capsule. It's like, here is the sushi that's got all the great vitamins that you need, but you don't have to eat it. Here, just swallow it. Here's your whole meal, and here's this great meal. It's like, and then you can go, oh, that was pretty good or not. I'm kind of bummed that we don't have that, but hey.
I wouldn't want to give up the act of eating.
See, I wouldn't care that I'm one that doesn't bother me. Now I say that, but I do have a very big partiality towards steak, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But even as a texture driven guy, it's like I sometimes don't chew nearly enough when I eat steak. It's like chew,
like a wild animal.
I start freaking out on it, and it's like it's like 2 or 3, it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe, and then it's like okay, swallow. That's what I've lived with cats my whole life. What do you want, dude?
Nice. Starlight asks, what if we tell Butcher? Huey says, we tell Butcher I've been a soup sidekick for a year. Oh, he's never going to not torture me for this, is he? Starlight says, well, maybe he won't. Huey says, no. Look, we can handle this ourselves, all right? Starlight stands up to leave and says, just don't do anything. Huey interrupts saying, what, crazy, stupid? She says, no, don't do anything until I get back, okay?
Anything. I love it.
He asks, you're leaving? She says, yeah, it's the sound check for Homelander's stupid birthday special. Huey doesn't say anything. She says, wait for me. He says, yeah, okay, sure.
One thing it just dawned on me just now. Do you think she got re-chipped? Or is her chip being out still one of those things that is still a wild card?
That's a good question.
I don't know why I just thought of that just now, but it just popped up in my head right now.
We haven't seen any indication that she has been rechipped, but you have to wonder why would Vought allow her to operate without one?
Unless she's unless she's still just toting it around and they don't know that it's not inside of her, because they probably couldn't determine that. But they could probably,
you're right.
In like proximity, just carry it on a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Because I'm assuming it would grant her but I'm assuming that would grant her access, wouldn't it?
They were using handprints.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Probably other biometrics as well. Oh,
you're right.
That was on the Vought tower.
Because that was Lamplighter. Yeah, that was Lamplighter. Yeah, okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so handprints. So yeah, okay, cool.
We're taken to the practice session for Homelander's party. Supersonic is practicing for his performance with the song "You Got Your License to Drive." Now, wow. What would you estimate his age at? 30? Late 20s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Early 30s. Yeah.
I could see a teenager singing this song. It's a bit strange coming from an older man.
Yeah, I'm jumping the gun here, but at least he recognizes it.
Yeah, I was writing my notes in kind of the flow of the episode, right? So he has basically the exact same reaction that I had.
That we do, yes. It's like, because I feel really weird doing this. I forget exactly what he says, but yeah, it's not really, it's not a good thing.
Some of the lyrics that we hear him sing are, baby, 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 got your license to drive. You got your license to drive me crazy. The choreographer is giving him some notes.
I'm as a young man growing up, I did not suffer from the scourge of boy bands.
Wait, New Kids on the Block was when you were in your 20s, man. The first round.
Yeah, I was 20. Are you kidding me? It's like all that stuff is that stuff's usually geared toward the young ladies. I thought
Well, what I'm
I was
saying
into
is
weird.
you had to have been inundated with all the advertising and stuff because you couldn't get away from it back then.
Maybe I did. I just learned how to ignore it and develop a blind spot for it because I just didn't. It wasn't what I was. Dude, I have such a weird. I've told you my stuff is so weird. My peers don't like what I like. So I mean, no one likes what I like, dude.
Well,
you may like a few things I like, but
everybody's got music's a really personal
it's a
thing.
hard one.
It's
extreme.
Yeah.
It's a very personal thing. Thank you.
I think I said it's very similar to people finding other people attractive. It's just different.
Thank you.
Everybody.
That's a really nicely put. I appreciate that. That's thank you.
Now, just one quick anecdote on New Kids on the Block. My cousin, she was obsessed with them, and I was at her house visiting, and she got a letter from the New Kids on the Block, and she was so excited.
Well, see, I guess I could understand if I was maybe younger, but my thing was that I was in my 20s. Yeah, probably when boy bands were first.
No, I mean, I was a guy. I wasn't into it. Don't get me wrong. I just remember specifically hearing about them all the time.
Right. I guess the first one I really was aware of. It's funny. I guess I shouldn't say never. I guess it was about 19, but it was a. I don't know if they're South American or Mexican, but do you remember Menudo?
No.
Menudo is dude, they are huge in South America.
Okay.
And they got so big they kind of got popular in America. And I think that they might still be a thing with different they still rotate out members into younger members. I think it's still one of those things that it might still be a franchise that still exists today.
Oh, interesting.
Puerto Rican boy band is so. Oh my word! Yeah, they were formed in '77. Puerto Rican. There we go. So Puerto Rican. But they appeared to all Spanish-speaking languages, nations for the most part. They were huge.
Okay.
77. It says.
Wow.
So I guess I wonder if Bay City Rollers. My cousin was into Bay City Rollers. You know who that is?
No.
I wonder if that's a early boy band.
The Beatles. The Monkees.
Well,
you want to go back?
Well, the Monkees, dude. I guess the Monkees. Yeah, there you go.
Would you say the Beach Boys were a boy band?
In a weird way, I guess you could say the Beach Boys were the Tide Harmony. That the Beach Boys were kind of. I don't know.
No.
I kind of like them. What can I say? They're the Beach Boys. What do you want? I kind of like them. My dad liked them a lot, so So I heard a lot of Beach Boys here, and my dad loved it, so I listened to a lot of Beach Boys. It was either that or things I didn't want to hear. It's like, I'll take the Beach Boys, please.
You know what I was thinking of after we had that conversation where I was discussing my what did we call it? Mellophonia of the Beach Boys.
Oh, that's right. Was it Fries related?
It was Fries related because I was forced to listen to it all day. But after that conversation, I was thinking about the movie Deja Vu with Denzel Washington. There is a Beach Boys song that they keep playing over and over because have you seen that movie?
I have, but I've only seen it once, and it's been probably not long after it came out, but I'd like to see it again.
I mean, most Denzel Washington movies are good.
Dude, it's Denzel, baby.
And that song wasn't so bad. The one that was in that, I was thinking, that was okay, but okay.
Some of it's good. It's just a lot of it's just so overdone. But again, this band is 70 years old. So they've been around even if they're not around now, but we've heard them our whole lives.
I don't think I'd have the same reaction if I was listening to say a Metallica album all day,
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. See, before I got into metal, metal used to kind of give me anxiety until I got.
Well, I'm just saying maybe it depends on what it is and whether you'd get sick of it or not.
Yeah. I think you get sick of anything.
True.
Because it's funny because I have the question I ask I ask everyone at work this question. Just kind of sometimes I just kind of get a wild hair, and it's about the music because we have it's fairly modern pop. So I mean, it's about the only thing that keeps me vaguely in tune with the modern soundtrack. And so I asked people I work with. I said, bad soundtrack at work or no soundtrack at work, and most people would agree they would still take the bad music at work. The no music at work, because at least with the bad music, it's a way of at least keeping time. That's how it is for me, at least. Even though I despise all this music that I hear, it's like I can't imagine having no music at my job.
I guess it depends on how bad we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not like it's not dreadful, but it's. Have you heard any of this new pop? And there's like 3 cover songs. There is a version of Cyndi Lauper's "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" that sounds like this girl wants to kill herself.
I haven't heard it.
And that's an upbeat song. And then there's like some other songs where they are. There's a song that takes a riff that uses the chorus from Rocket Man from Elton John, and then he has a whole other verse, but he uses Rocket Man. It's a sample of that. And then there was, so we still can't make new music anymore. And it becomes as bland and as tasteless as the 70s disco almost, which I like some 70s disco, but this stuff is about the same thing. Some of it sounds real similar. Well, music is very cyclical too. So, I mean, that's not a surprise to me. It shouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Yeah, I could get you talking about music all day. We need to
move along, sir.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Starlight walks in as Supersonic is finishing up, and she says, "Woo, still got it. Looks like you're back on the Sweet as I Wanna Be tour." He says, "Oh, wow. No, this is humiliating. That song was gross when I was 18. I sing it now. They're going to make me keep 1,000 feet from schools." Yeah, exactly like the same reaction that we had. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so funny.
Yeah.
And
I got to say, I kind of like this character.
I do too. That's Drummer Boy, right? They just rebranded him as Supersonic, right? Okay. He's super likable from what I can tell.
The normal Soup so far.
Well, we're basing this on the fact that Starlight is a good girl. I shouldn't say good girl, but you know what I mean. She's a good lady. She picks she picks pretty decent men. So I would like to think that this guy was probably decent. At least he pretended to be decent. We don't know. These guys have revealed different faces. I hope he's good.
Oh, that'd be a twist. Yeah.
Oh, and I could see it. You can too. I know it.
So after he says that he doesn't feel comfortable singing this, she says, "Then don't sing it." He counters with, "That's easy for you to say. You're already in the 7. I don't want to make waves." She says, "Trust me, make waves." The stage manager, Jay, is walking by. Starlight catches his attention and says, "Hey, Jay, could we run my segment now, actually? Because I only have a few lines." He says, "Of course, yeah." Homelander comes in from backstage and says, "Where's the fire, Starlight?" He looks at Jay and says, "What, are you on a break?" Supersonic stands up, puts his hand out and says, "Sir, happy birthday. Homelander points at him and says, "Supersonic, right?" Supersonic says, "Yeah, that's right." Homelander shakes his hand and says, "Great to meet you." Supersonic says, "You too." Homelander says, "Yeah, you're a real contender on American Hero. Keep it up. We could be teammates." Supersonic says, "Oh, wow. I hope so, sir." Homelander says, "Of course, it doesn't hurt that the show's judge used to get cum drunk on your chorizo picante." He has a huge smile on his face, and he winks at Supersonic. Supersonic is processing what he's saying. Starlight is looking at him to gauge his reaction. And it's not particularly good.
I don't think it still hadn't landed on Supersonic either.
I think he understands that it was most certainly a racist dig at him.
Oh, yeah. I hope he did. Yeah, I was going to say, I certainly hope so. But it's like, yeah. And just how nasty he is to people is so funny.
Jay says, "Homelander, sir, we're loading the prompter with Starlight's revisions." Homelander says, "Sure." Starlight asks, "Revisions?" Homelander says, "Yeah. I had Bruce make a couple of tweaks. Gave you some more juicy stuff." Starlight says, "No." Homelander continues, "After all, you are co-captain. Need you front and center." He addresses another staff member and says, "Roger, cue these up." Roger says, "Yes, sir." Homelander says, "Thank you." Now, it's interesting how polite he is to Roger after he was just so rude to Jay.
Is this his, well, it's volatility for sure, but is this mania from him that we're just seeing on his full display this whole episode? Is just how mania?
It's hard to say.
It's just...
He is very erratic, though.
This is an exciting episode with him.
Homelander says, "I got to admit, I was a little unsure about this, but now, honestly, I am just so excited about what's coming. Partner." We hear an ominous wah from the soundtrack. Jay says, "Ready for rehearsal." is brushing Janine's hair. That's his daughter. He hears a knock on the front door. He opens it to find Butcher. Butcher says, "All right, mate." Doesn't look happy to see him. Janine walks up. Butcher says, bloody hell, Janine, you shot up. You remember your Uncle Billy, don't you? Here, I got this for you. You and your dad can build it together. 523 pieces of family fun. Butcher holds up a box, and it is for the Vought 7 tower. There is a picture of Homelander and Starlight on the front, along with the Vought tower. Butcher smiles at MM as he describes the box set.
I love how he just tortures him with it too. I love it.
Yeah, I have a friend that does this. What he does is, if he's going to get my kids any gifts, he finds ones that either involve a significant amount of my time or they make a significant amount of noise.
Right. Right. It sounds like grandparent gifts almost. It's like it's like, dude, I'm gonna give just to get him back, dude. It's just like, yeah. So you wanted to play the cymbals, didn't you? Was that I got your son a pair of cymbals.
I think one of the worst things that's come into my house is a karaoke machine.
Oh wow. Does everyone like the karaoke?
They get in there and they start auto-tuning their voice and stuff, or they put the microphone towards the speaker and get feedback loops going, and you name it.
I never thought about the auto-tuning on that stuff. That's got to be too funny. I'm sorry. Oh.
Butcher and MM are in the kitchen talking. Janine is in the living room unboxing the set enthusiastically. MM says,
yeah, she is.
Okay, 1, you don't just pop up here. You call first. And 2, Soldier Boy. I don't give a mother doo-doo how he checked out. Butcher says, aw, bollocks. He didn't die like no hero. I'll wager he went out on his knees, begging like a right. Janine hears this and looks towards them. MM says, what the F? And exhales in frustration. He's trying not to curse in front of his daughter. Butcher says, sorry, love. Butcher walks closer to MM and lowers his voice. He says, look, if there's a weapon out there that killed Soldier Boy, then it can kill Homelander. And that's got to be worth something. Now, we're working our way through his old team. Frenchie and Kimiko are starting with the Crimson Countess, and I'm going to hit up Gunpowder. MM says, sounds like you got everything covered. Butcher shakes his head and says, this ain't just anyone. It's Soldier Boy. You could close the book on him once and for all, for your dad, your family. MM loudly says, off with that. Janine again hears this and looks at them. MM breathes heavily and says, my father died, hunched over a desk, obsessing over a dead man, while he was ignoring his 2 living children, and I almost did the same thing to her. Thanks for coming by. There's a moment of silence. Butcher looks over at Janine, then says, you're doing a bang-up job with her, mate. Then he moves to leave.
Do you find that sincere?
Yes.
Because I, for some reason, find that remark very sincere.
I think what's going on with him is he's developing this relationship with Ryan. He's probably seeing children through a new light. And now that he is realizing some of the feelings that MM has for his daughter, he probably truly means it. Whereas season 1 and 2, it would have been all about manipulating him to get what he wants out of him, right?
Yes. Yeah. And see, thank you. Because I really felt that. That's why I had to ask that. It was because I felt that was a very sincere thing from him there. It was like a realization moment, an aha moment. Like, you're doing a really good job with her. Despite me coming in here being a total nut job to you, you're doing a great job with her, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
MM calls after him and says, Butcher, hold on a second. I might have one thing. And he says it kind of begrudgingly. He doesn't seem happy about it. Yes, he does. He hands Butcher a folder. Butcher opens the folder, looks at it, and then he gives MM a smile. After Butcher leaves, MM goes through a box of files and pulls out a folder. He pulls out a newspaper clipping and sets it on the floor. It says, Soldier Boy catches car thieves. Harlem family caught in crossfire. MM looks up and he has tears in his eyes. He's from Harlem.
Yeah, I was like, wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm like you. I felt that one like, wow, there we go.
He thinks for a moment, then begins pulling out more clippings. The next one reads, Soldier Boy cleared of wrongdoings in death of Queen's family. The next one reads, Soldier Boy accused of brutality. Families of teen suspects in Central Park mugging say Soldier Boy forced false confessions. The next one reads, Soldier Boy busts drug cartel killing 20. Dozens injured. Superhero question for reckless actions in spite of successful outcome. The next one, Nation mourns for Soldier Boy. Tragic nuclear reactor meltdown. The next one, Soldier Boy accused of lethal force against protesters. Dozens of protesters injured. 3 remain in critical condition with threatening, and I can't make out the rest of the sentence. is looking at all the clippings and thinking about the situation. Now, as they're showing him in this scene, serious scene, he's by himself, not a lot of action going on. They're doing shaky cam.
I noticed that. It was so obvious for me. You've got me noticing either one, but I don't get the constant hand cam use in these non-action scenes either. Unless we're trying to show an inner landscape. And I'm sorry, and that's really reaching for it if you are.
I guess they're just doing it as a technique. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you know, the show is considered satire. Now, I sometimes don't process satire properly and don't understand some of the things they're riffing on. And I'm wondering if this, it's like, if they're riffing on it, it's like, okay, y'all have riffed on that enough. I get it. Enough shaky cam.
I'm not going to say they're riffing on shaky cam. I think they're intentionally filming it this way. And the reason I say that is if they were riffing on it, it would be like that Lifetime movie, Not Without My Dolphin, when they do it like that style,
okay,
right?
Okay.
This is a dramatic scene.
Okay, thank you.
And they, depending on the director for the episodes, they've had vastly different styles.
That's true. That's very true.
Like episode 1, we kept talking about how amazing some of the shots were, and I've noticed that over time I've had less and less of these shots that I've been bringing up as really memorable.
Well, and I'm curious if this is part of the plan to make us go. I have confessed about the show making me feel grungy because it's just I wonder if this is intentional.
The shaky cam.
Not the shaky cam. This is the grungy to make you feel dirty. Is the shaky cam also part of the grungy feel? Is this where we're adding to the layer? Is this what this adds to it? Does this add some kind of unease to us that we're unaware of, like a subliminal thing that we're unaware of?
We should, what we should do? We should look up the proper, the industry standard recommendations for when you should use shaky cam and see if there's, if this is a certain style that they just like to use in certain filming methods or something.
Right. It's funny. It does.
Yeah, we'll come back with that. We'll look at that for next week. Yeah.
We'll come back. Yeah. Yeah.
We are taken to Votland. There is a theme song playing. Everyone's a hero at Votland. We have a nice flying shot showing a number of roller coasters and rides. We can see the Manhattan skyline in the background. One of the roller coasters is named Ultimate Payback. We see a rainbow sign that says Brave Maeve's Inclusive Kingdom. Over the loudspeakers, we hear, "Welcome to Brave Maeve's Inclusive Kingdom. Don't forget to get your photo with Brave Maeve." Frenchie and Kimiko walk through the arch and into a square containing food and souvenirs. There are rainbow flags and balloons everywhere in sight.
Mm-hmm.
There is a kiosk for Brave Maeve's veggie tacos. Rainbow piñatas are hanging from the eaves of the kiosk. The menu has systematically oppressed tacos, intersectional nachos, inclusive quesadillas.
Now, I am curious what a systematically oppressed taco is. Is that just a taco? And are quesadillas non-inclusive by nature?
These are vegetarian quesadillas. So if anything, they are, well, I don't want to say they're excluding. I was going to say, are they excluding carnivores because they're non-dairy, non-meat? Yeah, but there's nothing stopping a carnivore from eating those, I guess. I don't know.
I guess. But the nacho intersectionality, I'm now. And what's funny, because I understand the idea of intersectionality. I don't care to know more. That stuff makes my brain hurt, dude. So I'll cut it off about there.
The more you dig into it, the more for me, the more triggered I get.
The more triggered I get too.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah.
Kimiko is looking around and has a huge smile on her face. There's another kiosk for the BLM BLTs.
No, at least that one's vaguely clever.
I mean, the menu on the first one really got me laughing. I was cracking up.
It is funny. It is funny.
There's another kiosk for the woke walk. It has Chinese lanterns tie-dyed in rainbow colors hanging from the eaves. The next kiosk is LGB turkey legs. The T is capitalized.
I was unaware of the growing LGBTQIA2S plus movement amongst turkeys. Sorry I didn't give a trigger warning for the acrophobics out there. I apologize. We can maybe move that in front of that. So
you have to wonder, like, is branding like this, is it inclusive and making people feel more welcome, or is it just so blatant that, like, when I see something like this that obviously is trying to get me, it kind of makes me resistant to even being interested in it. You know what I mean? It's trying to win me over too hard.
And I'm curious if that's what they're trying to say here too with the show, is by pushing it so hard, are you pushing people away? I got no idea what the show is trying to say. I have a hard time reading
I
things
guess it depends
things.
on the person. There's many people that they feel just treat me like a human.
Right.
That's all they want, right? They don't want special status. They don't want to be a victim. They just treat me like anybody else. And
that's what I do.
There's other people that want the special status. So I guess it depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, that's true.
You probably get a different answer.
That's true.
Yeah. A Homelander mascot is saying, "You're the real hero," as a family is taking pictures with him. Frenchie looks at someone in horror as he sees them eating a burger. He says, "Qu'est-ce que hamburger with a donut for a bun? Truly, there is no God here."
I as a Christian feel I have to agree with Frenchie.
Some things should not have been done.
Some things should not be done. Yes, it's an unholy abomination.
I had a heart attack simply thinking about that burger.
It sounds disgusting. Oh,
it's probably one of those things that's like,
it's probably amazing.
Incredible.
It could be incredible.
And I just had another thought for an abomination is like an apple fritter for the bun.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine that heart attack? Because apple fritters are worse for you than donuts even.
Oh, are they? I didn't realize they were that bad for. Okay.
Yeah, but generally, you go to like a donut shop and you get the apple fritter compared to a donut, it's going to have like twice as many calories because I think that generally they're denser. They have more frosting on them.
Okay.
Or icing, I guess is the right term there.
Apple fritter,
whatever it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Just have the cake bun.
Yeah.
It's like the muffin top.
We still need to come up with our 3-dimensional perfect muffin top sphere cooked in outer space.
That's right.
We're
zero G.
Zero G muffin company.
We just need to hook up with SpaceX. Elon, if you're listening, baby, we love you.
Cooked with solar radiation.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Fast and friendly.
It's renewable.
Right.
We get a shot of the square, and there is a castle with banners on it that say, "A castle for everyone," and everyone is capitalized. The banners have caricatures of Maeve on them as well. The benches in the square have signs on them with something ending in "safe space" in all caps. And now, I gotta say, the Easter eggs in this whole scene were beautiful. I love it. I would have liked to have seen the BLM BLT menu and the Woke Walk menus up close.
Yes.
I would be curious what they came up with for those. Yeah.
It would have been, it would have been funny.
Oh, yeah. Kamiko is taken with the ride Homelander Extreme Flight. She signs to Frenchie, "Can we go?" He says, "Come on, you want to wait 3 hours for a 3-minute ride that is a monument to a monster?" She signs, "I always wanted to." He asks, "Since when?" She signs, "Since Kenji and I were little." He says, "Okay, first work, then pleasure. We?" She smiles and nods. He says, "Okay, let's go. Come on." As they are walking out of the square, Kamiko sees a brother and a sister sharing some cotton candy, and she smiles. We can also see a kiosk for rainbow pops behind them in the background. Frenchie gets her attention and smiles at her. They go on their way. She continues to watch the siblings as she walks away. They pass a sign for the Soldier Boy Ahoy musical journey with Crimson Countess. At the bottom of the sign, it says, "Reserve your Countess tea time now." Frenchie and Kamiko sit down in a theater. The announcer says Soldier Boy grew up in the birthplace of American liberty. Born poor on the mean streets of South Philadelphia, he learned the values of hard work, tenacity, and bravery. He used those values to prove America's exceptionalism to the world. In the footage on the screen, Soldier Boy says, "Okay, boys, let's give these Krauts some hell." He leads the soldiers out of the trenches into battle. This was a black and white film that they're showing. The announcer says he defended us against the encroaching Red Menace. The footage shows Soldier Boy in Congress and holding up a piece of paper. He says, "Congress, I have a list right here of avowed communists." The announcer says he helped guide America into a brighter future, and along the way he found the love of a good woman, which made his sacrifice all the more noble when he gave his life, saving us from a nuclear holocaust. At the mention of helping guide America, we see a picture of Soldier Boy with Ronald Reagan and Charlton Heston.
I love both those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I love Reagan and Heston, dude. I love those guys, man.
Yeah. You ever go back and listen to any of Ronald Reagan's speeches?
Dude, Reagan is the man.
He was really good at delivering speeches.
He was a master. And my first election was George Bush Sr.
Mm-hmm.
So I never had a chance to vote for Reagan, but I remember growing up in a household that liked him and just how I was old enough to appreciate how witty he was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, wow, this guy's really cool, man. He was really funny, man.
Oh, I heard him tell a joke the other day. It was great.
Oh, is it the one about the clergyman and the senator getting to heaven?
Yes.
It's absolutely brilliant. I love it.
You want to tell it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So you tell it. You may tell it better than me. I thought you have a really good way with delivery.
Well, we'll see because
Okay.
I got to see if I remember it correctly. So a politician and a clergyman get up to the pearly gates and they meet with St. Peter, right?
Yeah. Yes.
At the pearly gates. St. Peter gives the clergyman his quarters, and it's just kind of like a regular place. And there's all these other
room. It's like a little room, isn't it? Or something like
it's
that.
like a monk's monastery, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then he takes the politician to this beautiful mansion. It's like huge, all the amenities you can imagine, and the politician is in shock. He says, "Why is mine so much better than the clergyman's?" St. Peter says, "We get clergymen up here all the time, but you're the first politician we've ever seen." He tells it a lot better, but like I'm kind of paraphrasing it right now. But I was cracking up.
Great.
It was pretty funny.
He was amazing. There's another one about his age when I think it was Mondale was questioning his age. And it was something about your opponent. What does your opponent think about your age? He goes, well, sometimes it's something about being young and inexperienced doesn't really help you or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was like it was one of these where it was set up to trap him and he just danced right around. It looked so magnificent doing it.
Yeah. Something was lost in the last 30 years with our current politicians.
The crazy. I will make one quick commentary about politics today is if people paid as much attention to politics as they did when we were younger, we would not have had the past elections we've had in the past 16 years.
Did people really used to pay more attention?
Yes.
Think?
Yes.
Really?
I believe that people cared more about their vote mattering and about certain things. It's because it was smuttiness, all this really trashy behavior that has become it's become like a reality television show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become a trashy thing when it used to not be.
Yeah.
We are becoming idiocracy.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. But to give Obama some credit, he was actually a really good speaker, and he was also good at kind of dancing around some of the stuff that came up. Like just you compare him to like George Bush Jr., who is not very well spoken.
What's funny that with George W. Bush, that people forget. Do you know that he is one of the few presidents that has actually had a master's degree?
I didn't know he had a master's degree, but I'm trying to say, does this devalue master's degrees?
It could very well. I don't know. I think college education has been greatly devalued over the past 10 years or so. He
was roommates with Tommy Lee Jones, wasn't he, at Harvard?
Who's that?
Tommy Lee Jones, the actor?
No. I know who was his roommate.
George Bush.
Oh,
Junior.
I don't know. He could have been because they were both Texas boys.
I think they were roommates at Harvard.
Well, that's hilarious. I love Tommy Lee. He's a
Yeah.
Fort Worth, but yeah, I love
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, you compare
I love
Obama to
George
George
W. Yeah.
W. and then, Trump
Well,
and Biden. And it's like, really not a good track record of good public speakers
no,
recently.
it's
So,
getting worse. It's not getting any
yeah.
better apparently.
Yeah. So
Oh, my
either
word.
way, off the politics.
Sorry.
But yeah, just his speeches were good
Yeah, amazing.
back in
Very
the day.
entertaining.
Yeah. hmm We see a picture of Soldier Boy with Hugh Hefner and a number of playmates in front of a Playboy airplane. Then we see Soldier Boy with a picture of him and Princess Diana. At the mention of love of a good woman in the montage, the footage shows Soldier Boy with Crimson Countess. When they mention the nuclear holocaust, we see a picture of a melted down nuclear reactor. The announcer says, "Please join us in saluting Soldier Boy." The lights dim and there is scattered applause. The lights come back on, revealing Crimson Countess. She is singing.
Badly lip syncing, you should say.
You don't think she was actually singing?
No.
Okay.
No, they can't. Well, first off, they can't on a movie set. They really want. They should, because you can see it in their throats whether they're syncing, whether they're lip syncing or not. And she was just moving. She's just moving her mouth.
Okay.
But do you recognize who that woman is?
No.
I only know her from one show. She was in The Walking Dead. She was Andrea. And the Andrea from the comic book versus the television show were night and day. She was really cool in the comics, and she was okay in the television show, but they killed her off kind of early. I say early, probably about third or fourth season. But she was one that lived a lot. She made it through the comic books. But
refresh my memory. Which character was this?
There was a couple of young girls that hitched a ride with Herschel, the old man with the RV.
Yeah.
And it was Andrea and her sister died, and her
she was
Herschel
keeping her alive, right? Then she got bitten or something.
Yeah, but her and Herschel in the comics actually become a couple.
Okay,
because she was always grateful to him for saving them. So she fell in love with him because it's like it doesn't really matter because we don't know how long any of us have gotten this day and age. So they were a couple until he got killed.
Okay. Yeah, she was blonde in that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But that's the only thing I really recognized her from. But I saw her, I was like, she looks really familiar. And then I realized that's who that was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to digress. Go ahead.
That's all right. It's excruciating detail.
It is.
Now, the lyrics she's singing: "When the night was dark and the dawn was cold, from sea to shining sea and mountains' majesty, he did it all for the red, white, and the bold." She holds her hands together and a red orb of energy forms. She sings, "'Cause he's America's son, a shining beacon of freedom. He's America's son." She releases the orb and it flies over the crowd, lighting up the auditorium. We hear very few oohs and ahs from the crowd as it flies over.
There's like, 15 people in that audience,
maybe?
Yeah,
it's not a lot. Yeah. Next, we see she's smashing up pills and putting them in a teacup in her dressing room. She sniffs up all the remaining powder that didn't make it into her cup, and she yells out, "Next!" Frenchie and Kimiko enter. She says, "You seem a little old for the Countess tea package." Frenchie says, "We're young at heart." Kimiko nods and walks up. She holds up her phone, and she typed, "I like your music." Crimson Countess asks, "Oh, sweetie, can't you talk?" Kimiko shakes her head. Crimson Countess asks, "Would you like to hear something new?" Kimiko nods, and Crimson Countess says, "Okay," and motions her to come over to the laptop. She plays a music video. She's in it singing "Chimps Don't Cry."
Other guys, anybody? Anyone? Pimps Don't Cry?
That's the movie, The Other Guys?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Was that a music video
Oh, no, there is a music video. I tied it there for you if you want to look at the actual music video, but it's because remember Will Ferrell, his wife's Eva Mendes, and she sings that to him when he says the gator comments to her.
Gator one, it's a gack back, right?
Yeah. All that stuff with the gator. She's like, and she starts singing the song Pimps Don't Cry. And it's a real CeeLo Green song written for that, where she actually sings the song in a music video that's separate from the actual. But it's funny because they do have it. But Pimps Don't Cry.
I forgot that part of the movie. I need to go back and watch that movie.
It may still be on Netflix. It was on there for a while.
Speaking of Samuel L. Jackson, he was in it for about 30 seconds. Him and The Rock, right?
Aim for the bushes. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Aim for the bushes. That's one of my favorite lines, man. That's great. That movie's nothing but great lines, though.
The gator thing was great. Loved it.
Oh my Lord, the gator stuff's epic. I love it. And I'm not a huge Will Ferrell guy sometimes, but he's great in that. He's magnificent.
Frenchie raises an eyebrow when he hears Chimps Don't Cry. The song goes on, no chimps don't cry. Frenchie walks up to a shelf and we see she has dozens of chimp plushies on the shelf. She says, you know that chimps are physically incapable of crying, but that doesn't mean they're not crying on the inside.
How are we to judge this? How do we know that they're not? How do we know they're crying on the inside?
Who knows? Kamiko smiles. Frenchie is in disbelief at what he's seeing. Kamiko signs, she's nice. Frenchie signs back, she's nuts. Kamiko says, no, she's not. Frenchie signs, let's get it over with. And Kamiko signs, fine. Now, this sign language is actually coming in pretty handy here.
Yes, especially here. It's great combat language, dude. Think about it. I'm sorry. I'm going to make an Atreides battle language reference there.
Yep. Kamiko moves quickly, grabbing Crimson Countess and slamming her face first against the wall. She yells, What are you? Ow! Frenchie says, don't let her hands touch. Kamiko grabs her wrist and forcibly separates her hands. Crimson Countess says, ow, let go of me, you Frenchie walks up and says, no fireball if your hands don't touch. You stay quiet and relax. She will hurt you. Crimson Countess asks, what do you want? Frenchie says, we want to know about Soldier Boy. She asks, what the do you care about Soldier Boy? He says, we want the truth about Soldier Boy, not the merde you've been giving us in your appalling show. How did he die? Who killed him? Talk. She says, the show is the truth, you mother. He died a hero. There's a knock at the door. A member of the staff lets a woman and a child into the room. He says, 3 minutes with the Countess. Crimson Countess gets a foot on the wall and kicks off of it, knocking her, Kamiko, and Frenchie down. They smash the table that's in the middle of the room. The woman and the child are surprised. Chimps Don't Cry continues playing on the soundtrack as Crimson Countess runs into Brave Maeve's inclusive kingdom. The lyrics, just no turning back. You can't tell they're hurting because their eyes stay dry. Inside they're suffering in solitude. Chimps don't cry. No, chimps don't cry. They can't cry. Crimson Countess gets right in the middle of the crowd and turns around. She puts her hands together and charges her energy ball between her hands. Kamiko squares off against her. Crimson Countess releases the energy ball and it hits the Homelander mascot, exploding blood and guts all over the crowd, including the siblings Kamiko was looking at earlier. Everyone screams. Crimson Countess runs. Kamiko sees the siblings and realizes what has happened due to the confrontation. Frenchie says, Allez, we got to go. Come on. I finally get a little view of the BLM BLT menu. The bottom says, United We Stand for Quality BLTs.
Well, I can kind of get behind that.
Yeah. I think if we could stand together to get a decent BLT sandwich, speaking of which, I haven't had one of those in years. That sounds really good.
I would go for the BL. I'm not a big tea guy. I'll eat ketchup, but not tomatoes a lot. So
I'm not huge on tomatoes, but in a BLT, gotta have it for me. A crispy tomato with it.
I'll give it a shot.
It's got to be a crispy one, not too much juice going into the sandwich, making it soggy. So,
right.
The scene closes out with a view of the dismembered head of the staff member who was in the Homelander mascot costume. Now, this was particularly gruesome. The way this ended. It was pretty messed up.
But it's funny because it's pretty messed up, but for me that was kind of funny though at the same time because it took me a second to realize it was actually somebody inside that thing. I was like, why did it blow up all over them? I was like, oh, that's right. There's somebody inside there.
The scale of the outfit made it look like it was just a statue. It didn't seem proportional in the body. The head was really large, right? Like kind of like a bobblehead. But watching in slow motion, I mean, you see it is, I guess it makes sense with the blood and guts coming out of there. Yeah, but that was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. Yeah.
Huey is still in his kitchen stewing on the situation. He sees a picture of him and Victoria on the fridge. They both look very happy. There are some newspaper articles on the fridge. The one that I can read says, sentenced to decades in prison after guilty plea in Bushwick murder. I can't see who this is referring to, but I think what's going on is he has articles on his fridge for all of the soups that they put away for misbehavior.
Probably so.
So he's like reinforcing the fact that he's doing it the right way.
Yeah. Very much.
Huey has taken a jar out of the fridge and he can't open this one either. This is the second time in the episode, right? Like once I get it, right. But now
Dude, get a jar opener. They make those things.
You don't need a jar. There's no way he's that weak that he can't open a jar that's already been opened.
No, I know it. Yeah. And even if it hasn't been opened, they make things to open those things.
Yeah.
But they mount them on. There's tons of things and tons of ways to do it, minus the superpowered girlfriend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Weaklings have been opening it for years, dude. Come on. You're giving the race, not men or women. You're giving us all a bad name, dude. Come on.
Well, this is Huey. He's supposed to be the tech guy. You would think he'd know about gadgets and stuff.
I know it. You'd think he'd figure something out.
He worked in an electronics store.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Fries it up, man. I have more respect for our guys.
We would have had a can opener a jar opener in the as seen on TV section.
Yeah. Yes, we would have.
Yep. I'm trying to remember some of the other stuff we had in there. Can't remember any off the top of my head.
Oh, wait, it was so funny toward the end. That was about all we had was as seen on TV. We became that place.
Yeah. Huey gets frustrated and says, damn it. He taps it on the counter and then he tries again, failing again to open it. He hits the jar on the counter more aggressively, and this time he smashes it into shards, and one of them cuts his hand. He yells, his hand is bleeding and is covered in mustard. The mustard has gone all over his clothes and the kitchen as well. He says, God. He runs to the faucet and runs water over his hand, rinsing off the blood and the mustard. We see a phone is ringing, and Supersonic answers it. He says, Huey, my man, you okay? Huey is confused. He says, Alex, where's Annie? Supersonic says, she's actually on stage with Homelander. It's a crazy day, man. He says, yeah. So glad you're there with her. Hey, why'd you pick up her phone? Supersonic says, well, you called 3 times in the last 3 minutes. Is anything wrong? Huey says, no, everything's good. Everything's fine. Just tell her that I called, okay? He hangs up on Supersonic before he can respond. Huey thinks for a moment, then gets up off the couch and picks up the folder of information on Red River and leaves. At the practice session for Homelander's birthday, Starlight is saying, it's such an honor to be with you all tonight, celebrating my dear friend and mentor, Homelander. Now, before we bring out Dame Judi Dench, I would like to take a moment. She doesn't recognize the next line on the prompter and says, hey, Jay, what's that? I'm supposed to be announcing the Starlight House. We can see the next line on the prompter says, take a moment to do something special for a very special birthday boy. Homelander says, you sing me happy birthday. Fun, right? Go on, go for it. She goes for it and tries to quickly sing happy birthday as quickly as she can. She's like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. And Homelander says, oh, hey, hold on. Sorry. Starlight, listen, Starlight. I hate to direct you, but we're going to need a little more JFK just got rimmed out by Marilyn version. It's got to fit with the routine. Actually, show her the routine. You're going to love this. A bunch of women backup dancers wearing Starlight feminist attire run up on stage. He says, there's your backup. Starlight doesn't like this turn of events. She says, okay, hold on, everybody. Okay, ladies, thank you. Just stand down, okay? Real quick. She walks up to Jay and says, can I talk to Roger? Jay says, yeah, sure. Abso. Homelander asks, problem? Starlight says, I have concerns. He says, you do? She confirms she does. He says, oh, okay, well, what are they? She says, it's demeaning. He says, it's demeaning to sing your friend happy birthday? She retorts, are you going to sing all sexy for me on my birthday? He asks Starlight, what's with all this animosity? She turns to a very worried Jay and says, hey, can we just have 1 minute, please? Jay looks to Homelander. Homelander waves his hand at Jay and says, yes, go. Jay thanks him. Starlight says, hey, okay, for the record, I know you don't care whether I sing or not. This is a juvenile attempt to get me to look like a sex doll instead of a co-captain. He laughs and she says, I'm not doing it. He says, I have an idea. Why don't you lighten the up? Come on, you're going to sing the out of this song. Ready? Let's hit it. We hear Mr. Edgar's voice over the speakers. He says, if Starlight doesn't want to sing, she doesn't sing. Homelander puts his hands on his hips and says, Stan, what a surprise. Mr. Edgar says, our testing shows that 76% of likely viewers will make every effort to watch tonight for Starlight. As for you, 53% might DVR. I think that means she can call her own shots. Don't you? Homelander tries to play hardball. He says, so how about I just walk, Stan? How would that rate? Mr. Edgar says, after the PR hole you dug for yourself this past year, I'd say you're lucky we're putting on this farce at all. But hey, it's your party. You can cry if you want to. It's great, man.
Wow, that's awesome.
Homelander stands still. His face is twitching in frustration. He shakes his head and turns to look at Starlight. Then he walks off set. Starlight walks up to Supersonic and he says, damn, Annie, what happened to you in New York? She says, I started making waves. She walks off. Supersonic turns to watch her go.
I love the continual erosion of Homelander's confidence, ego. I'm not sure what, but we're cutting it away here, and this is going to most definitely lead to some bad things.
Yeah, man.
I'm eager to see how. Man, are you just wanting him to go nuclear?
Nah, dude. I don't know. After that scene in season 1, episode 8, the scene at him at the beginning in that warehouse. My favorite scene from season 1.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty sick, but it'd have to be filmed correctly, and we would have to have an equal force to go up against him.
Yeah, that's true.
Or a coalition of forces to be able to team up against him.
It's going to take a coalition against him, and he's going to kill a bunch of them. Trying to take him out, I'm assuming, too. So I'm assuming they can take him out. I think they could.
Depends on who's involved.
If they took out Stormfront, if we had the right team, and especially if we have this drummer boy back, Supersonic backing us up to back up Starlight, man, that could be a pretty nasty thing there.
Well, he can fly. Who else can fly?
Well, Stormfront was Homeland. Oh, that's true. That puts him.
He could just fly away.
Man, is he the only one that can fly?
Besides Swato.
In the comics, Annie can fly. Swato, right?
Yeah, you get lasered out of the air like
with his insect-like wings.
Mosquito.
Well, at least he could provide some air support. There is something to be said for a little air cav. A little air cav. It may not be much, but I mean, against normal folks, it'd be bad news. But against other superheroes, I'm Swato. He may not be able to cut. I don't know. He's part of Team Payback. Those guys seem like some pretty bad rascals.
I did like Mr. Edgar showing up here without Homelander knowing about it, and then him cutting him down when he was trying to get out of control and demean Starlight. That was pretty cool.
That's real nice, yeah.
A-Train is in Ashley's office. Ashley says, thank you so much for coming in. Have you met my new development exec? The development exec says, hi, I'm also Ashley. The only other thing worse than Ashley is someone that looks up to her. Here we go.
Right? Can Ashley 2 out Ashley 1? Say that 3 times fast.
No.
Sorry.
No way.
Sorry.
That's it. I tried to do it before the show. I was like, no way. There's no freaking way. Yeah. A-Train smiles uncomfortably and says, uh-huh. Ashley sits on her couch and says, we are super curious to hear what you had for us today. Well, to answer your question, can this new person out Ashley? I mean, she just seems like a sycophant.
Yeah. Well, she has to be. I'm sure that Ashley wouldn't hire Ashley if Ashley wasn't a sycophant for Ashley.
Let me try and unwrap that thought.
No, I'm going to give you an even better. I'm going to have to South Park this one. Do you remember what's the greatest quote of a famous person in South Park? Not a real famous person, but it's a person imitating is James Cameron.
Okay.
James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does because he's James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the greatest quotes ever, I think. I don't know why
he
I love
actually
that
said
line
that?
so much. Yes, it's not really James Cameron, but it's in the Raising the Bar. It's the Honey Boo Boo episode.
Oh, okay.
With Cartman, but he has to go raise the bar, but
Mhm.
he does it because he's James Cameron.
Nice. Okay, so Ashley sits on her couch and says, "We are super curious to hear what you have for us today." Also, Ashley nods and says, so curious.
He's so curious.
Adding a lot there. Seth from marketing is also in the room. He looks at A-Train skeptically. A-Train says, "I've been thinking a lot about all the ways that I can contribute around here. Maybe I can't run as fast as I used to, but I've never just been the world's fastest man. Like, there's a lot of layers to the A-Train that people haven't seen yet."
Did you notice that I didn't know this. I actually looked this up. Did you notice that he is looking a little bit chunkier there?
He does look thicker around the midsection, yes.
I looked it up. He put on 20 for a movie. I think he got bald, not fat, but like muscular.
Uh-huh.
And then but those suits, of course, make you look chunky if you're wearing it around the waist. Because I was looking to see, are they playing that up? Because this comes up later. It's why I asked.
Yeah. His midsection does look thicker and not as tapered as it used to. Yeah.
I think they're doing that. Do you think I'm assuming they're doing it deliberately.
Maybe.
Because remember Homelander's comment.
Yeah.
The only person he's the only person Homelander is able to bully right now. Is A-Train apparently?
Yeah.
He was bullying him about the drink, and that's when I thought he was going to kill him.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
In that first episode, that was real close.
I actually felt bad for A-Train. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I felt really bad for A-Train right there. Yeah.
Ashley asks, such as, after A-Train says he has a lot of layers, A-Train says, "Well, I'm also a strong, very proud black man, right, Seth?" He looks over at Seth. Seth doesn't say anything and looks to Ashley. A-Train says, "Seth, come on, man, tell them." Seth says, "Right. The Seven have been dipping in the African American demo. Our numbers for Dawn of the Seven have been soft. People of color don't tend to react well to Nazis." A-Train holds up a finger and says, "Facts." Seth continues, "We thought a rebranding of A-Train maybe could change that, if done tastefully."
Tastefully. Notice that I love how Seth is like, if done tastefully. It's a big if. If stands for instant failure. So
Ashley says, "A rebranding," and chuckles. She doesn't look enthusiastic. A-Train says, "So listen, we start with a docu-series on Vought's soul, A-Train to Africa." Boom. Seth has some art on an easel and shows the mock-up for the series. It says a 15-part limited docu-series.
Wow. It's about 14 more episodes than I want to watch.
A-Train is running next to a cheetah on the plains of the Serengeti. I guess it depends on what they're going to show.
Yeah, that's true.
Seth says, "The art's just a mock-up. It'll trace his family's journey from the plains of Africa all the way to Vought Tower."
So he wouldn't be going there to wrestle. He would be going there.
Ashley is sinking into her couch. A-Train says, "Yeah, like, I want to get back in touch with my roots, like in Roots. And for the Gen Zs, a state-of-the-art interactive learning experience." Seth really doesn't look like he wants to show this mock-up, but he does. We see a sign for the middle passage. There's a picture of A-Train breaking a chain. There are some old ships behind him. These are sailboats, from like the 1700s.
Yeah.
The game is for the VS4 and is compatible with the Penumbra VR headset. They already have the shill media reviews on the mock-up art. 5 stars from Game Critic, and they say brave and inspiring. Game Review also gave it 5 stars, calling it Game of the Year.
Game of the Year. Is this going to be compatible with my Okama Game Sphere?
Okama Game Sphere. Yeah. Is that where they met Towley?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Wow, nicely spotted, sir. That is the introduction of Towley. Yes.
Love Towley. I have a Towley magnet on my fridge.
Awesome, man. Oh,
The game is rated Y for youth, but check this out. The youth rating has extreme violence, extreme language, and disturbing themes.
available Christmas.
And it's available at Christmas time. Yep.
Is that a rating that's even? I mean, is that even a real rating?
I don't know.
I don't. I find that to not be
They
real
have
for
like
some reason.
PEGI ratings now, don't they? It's PEGI. And well, even youth would never have extreme violence, extreme language, and disturbing themes. That's like 18 or
Right.
above.
Yes.
Yeah, or adult. So I'm not. We're probably gonna have to come back on the ratings next week.
Yes.
Ashley leans forward and asks, "Is that a video game about the slave trade?" A-Train says, "It's some powerful stuff." Seth says, "It's really something."
It's really something.
A-Train says, "I even had LJ redesign the suit, for the culture. I want to introduce it tonight." Now, this has gone too far for Ashley. She stands up and says, "Oh, yeah, no. Let's have a beat on that and think about that. Okay, wow. Okay, thank you so much for that pitch. That was so well told." Also, Ashley says, so well told. Thank you
So
again
well told.
for your input.
Yes, woman.
A-Train is smiling and says, "All right, yeah." Also, Ashley and Seth leave the office. Ashley says, "We're going to discuss with the team and get back to you." He says, "Cool, yeah, thanks." He walks off. She smiles and says, "See you tonight." Then, when she is alone, she takes a deep breath.
Painful to watch.
Yeah. Out in the hallway, A-Train catches up to Seth and says, "I'm kind of surprised that they didn't buy it in the room." Seth says, "She hated it." A-Train says, "What? No, man. She said it was well told." Seth says, "Yeah, that's code for she effing hated it. Look, man, she didn't buy it because it's total bullshit. You couldn't care less about your African roots. You know it, and she knows it, and frankly, Africa knows it."
Yeah.
A-Train says, "Yeah, you don't have that thing." Now, there's a woman walking by as A-Train says this, and Seth gives her an uncomfortable look. That is a low blow, man.
That's beyond a low blow.
Yeah.
But one of the funny things about that I think that we failed to mention in this is that Seth is, if you're not looking at the scene, Seth is not really happy about trying to sell this at all.
He's not. He's very unenthusiastic the whole time. He has to be prodded by A-Train to do anything in that scene. And then particularly for the VR experience, he did not want to show that one.
Yeah. Because he knew what he was dealing with there.
But let's be honest, it's not that much better than what they proposed for any of the other people. It's just as shilly as like the stuff that they did with Maeve or Starlight.
Yeah, poor Maeve is no longer Maeve. She's now Brave Maeve.
Yeah.
It's just awful, though.
Yeah.
But I think it's because he's trying to get a hold of it, and Vought doesn't. It's because he's going against them, trying to do his own thing.
They didn't come up with the idea, yeah.
Yes. If Ashley had come up with this idea, it'd have been a different story.
Right, okay. Yeah. Huey is at Red River. He is walking with a woman named Vanessa who is using crutches. Her left leg is injured. She says, "So, where at Vought do you work?" Huey says, "The tower, social media, up on the 47th. I'm sorry. You said you don't get many potential parents?" She asks, "Well, you know what kind of a home we are, right?" He says, "Yeah, no, of course. It's a group home for the super abled." As they walk into a room, Huey sees a girl levitating a doll with telepathy, and a boy teleports into existence. Vanessa addresses a boy who's crawling up a wall. She says, "Mason, please get down from there." Yeah, so many tragic stories, but with the right attention, they can bounce back so quickly. Now, given this is a soup orphanage, do you think that she injured her leg taking care of one of these soup kids?
I'm going to assume so due to something that she says in a minute.
Okay, yeah. Huey says, "Yeah, they're little treasures." As he is saying this, the doll comes flying at his head. As he leans down to pick it up, the boy teleports up to him, surprising Huey, who says, "Geez." Another woman walks up and says, "Teddy Stillwell, we don't teleport." And I thought, what? This is Teddy, the baby, Stillwell's son, and he's got powers. So I was thinking, who's the father?
It could be. Well, first off, let me just say nicely spotted. I did not catch that.
Okay.
I caught everything but that. So
Cool.
nicely caught. But the paternity question, man, I have to think that she has an unlimited donor pool, whether they know it or not, from her VOT files. Should I, you know what I'm getting at? She could. I'm assuming that any one of the 7 could have been the father of that, or it could have been, she could have done. Who knows? We got no idea what she was up to, especially with the idea of this kid with powers. That throws me a little bit, right? As to wow, okay, that explains a little bit of something why, because some of that stuff with her didn't feel like she had a connection to that kid, and that might be part of it. Yeah, she had the kid, she was going to raise the kid to try and homelander it, or try to raise it kind of to be good, but maybe that's why Homelander hated him.
Because he knew it was his ultimate replacement.
Maybe so.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of grooming, so yeah, something else that she could control much easier.
I see. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think I guess the question is, did he know Teddy had powers?
Well, I think like with his own son, he could see certain things, and I'm assuming density, because he had no fear of shoving the kid off the roof. He wouldn't have done that if he could have seen that the kid was built normal.
I honestly think we actually talked about this. I asked, I think you said that in his mind, he doesn't see a world where his son is anything less than a soup. So
that's true.
The thought never even entered his head that he could be normal. Yeah. It's my son, so he's a soup just like me.
He's going to be soup, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well that's it. Yeah, okay, good question.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out more. Hopefully, they do something with him in the long run,
dude. I hope so. I hope so too.
Yeah,
I would love to see him involved in some kind of revenge for his mama,
against Butcher
or something. Butcher didn't kill his mama.
Oi, you
he didn't box his mama.
Shut it.
Bollocks her.
Yeah, bollocks you. Yeah.
It was Homelander who burned her brains out of her head.
Yeah, it was. I was quoting the Chris Hansen reenactment of that. Teddy shyly asks, "Can I play with my toys?" The woman says, "Yeah." Huey asks Vanessa, "So their parents, she says, "Well, some of the kids, they discovered their gifts quite early, before they were able to control them. But listen, I'm sure you'd be perfectly safe." Huey laughs, then notices a TV behind Vanessa. It is showing footage of Huey and Starlight at the Dawn of the Seven premiere. He quickly asks, "Hey, can you show me the rest of the place?" Vanessa asks, "What do you want to see?" He says, "Anything, whatever you got." Teddy teleports in front of Huey, surprising him again. Vanessa says, "Sorry, what is it, Teddy?" Teddy points up at the TV. Vanessa looks at the TV, then back at Huey. She says, "Hey, wait a minute. I know you. You're Starlight's boyfriend?" Huey is a bit befuddled. Vanessa says, "And you work at the Bureau." Huey is trying to find his footing. He says, no, I can." She says, "This is highly irregular." He finally gets something out, saying, Hey, I can explain. Okay, the truth is Starlight is the one that sent me here. I'm completely sterile. Doctor says my sperm are bad, like really, really bad, like a bunch of fat, dead tadpoles. But we want a kid, and she wanted to keep it quiet, so she sent me here to cover for her. I was never here. By the way, we just want to keep it about love and not publicity, you know? Now, this is a dangerous lie to start doing, right? Bad path to go down.
Well, what's funny is I just now had this thought too, is that the fact is if later on, you put your hat in the ring and forget about it, and about 3 seasons later, it's like, "Hey, we got that kid for you."
Yeah.
You're like, what? It's like, what?
Yeah, that's going to be great.
No.
Vanessa and Huey are sitting in an office looking at a computer screen. She is saying, "This is fantastic. With a superhuman mother, there is far less chance for paternal fatality." Is this what you were talking about?
Yes, okay. I was the parental fatality comment. Yes, was one that makes me think that's why she hurt her leg with this.
Okay.
At this gig, but that kind of makes me also wonder. It's like the other minders here. I would think that some of the minders might be soups.
Interesting. Kind of like lamplighter working in Sage Grove.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
you would have to think so, just for some containment purposes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, you could never tell. I'm not saying these kids would go bad, but somebody that's got some hateful powers and doesn't know anything about it just does something and kills a bunch of folks accidentally.
Yeah. Or
I
kids have
mean,
tantrums. They can't control their emotions
yeah,
yet.
exactly. So that but that along with the superpowers, so you need someone there that can take a punch
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
from that stuff.
Now, this mention of parental fatality made me think, how many parents that dreamed of having soup kids even considered the possibility that parental fatalities are a thing when it comes to raising a soup kid?
And it's kind of funny. It's not a thing that as much comic book stuff as I've read, most people come into their powers accidentally. And if they're born with them, they don't come into them till they're later.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, the idea of soups in the womb, look at Homelander, look at Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ryan was going to rip his way out of his mama.
Right.
And so it's not even something I had really thought about until they brought it up.
It's pretty horrific.
I mean, that's got, it's probably very high.
Yeah. Huey says, "Oh yeah, that's great. That's great news." Vanessa says, "So, I have a few standouts that I think you'll be pretty thrilled with." We are shown the database on the screen with pictures of a number of the children. Huey asks, "You mind if I just kind of flip around for a bit?" He reaches for the mouse. Vanessa says, "Oh," but scoots the mouse over to him. Huey moves himself to be in front of the monitor, forcing Vanessa to move to the side. He really kind of shuffles her out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Nicely done.
Yeah. Huey says, "Thank you. Thank you. Sorry." As he's moving over, he has taken a flash drive out of his pocket and is attempting to plug it into the computer under the desk. He manages to plug it in. A light starts flashing on it. Vanessa asks, "Is there anything in particular that you're looking for? Boy, girl?" Huey says, "No, we don't really see gender that way." What does that mean?
Right? It's just one of the new. It's the new stuff. I've quit. It's like I'm like whatever. It's we know what it means.
Huey didn't strike me as. No, never mind.
Well, I think this episode it makes him look more. With the jar stuff, this makes him even look more like that.
Okay. Vanessa says, "Well, Samir is South Asian." Huey says, "Mm-hmm." Vanessa continues, "That is very hot right now." Huey says, "No, that sounds great. Samir, right here? Okay." The light on the flash drive turns green, and Huey removes it from the computer. Next, we see he's out in his car, and he inserts the drive into his laptop. First, he searches for Nadia's folder, then opens an image file, and he sees a gruesome picture of a man's body slumped over a cradle. His head is gone, and there's blood splattered all over the wall. The next picture is of a headless woman sitting in a chair. It appears as if she was holding a child. The wall behind her is covered in blood. He finds a video in Nadia's folder and plays it. A teenage Nadia is sitting in a chair in an office. A woman says, "Nadia, do you know why you're here today?" Nadia asks, "Did I do something wrong?" The woman says, "Not at all. You made so much progress. That's why you're here. You're getting what you've always wanted." Nadia asks, You're adopting me?" We hear Mr. Edgar's voice say, "No, I can't adopt you, sport. Not technically. It's more complicated than you need to worry about. But you are a very rare and exceptional girl, and you're coming with me. I'm going to take care of you from now on. Is that all right?" Huey is shocked by this revelation. He closes the lid on the laptop, and that is a hell of a twist. And
Yes,
the
it
fact
is.
that Rayner was making the connection between Vought and the government is incredible.
Yeah. And it still begs the question, and I think I may have asked it last episode, is when Rayner was killed, I've even tried to look. Where was Victoria?
Do you think she was actually going to be visible in that scene?
Not necessarily, but she'd have to have a line of sight, though. We know that.
My guess was they're next to those grain silos. That could be with she might have been standing on top of them.
Or that could also be with the binoculars, too.
Yeah.
Could her power be through binoculars as well?
I would assume
or does
so.
It have to be no? Okay, that's kind of what I think too. But after how she used it on Tony,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it'd be transmitted through that, or if it would destroy the binoculars on passing through it, or what. I mean, I got no idea how that would work.
Maybe it magnifies
So
it.
it could be. It'd be nasty. Ooh, that'd be real
Get a
nasty.
telescope. Like, so crazy.
Blast huge chunks out of things. Yeah,
that power is so horrific to me. Just like parts of your body just
it's
exploding.
That was horrifying when she used it on Tony. It was epic.
On his jaw
really
in particular.
Cool.
That was a bad one. But this really shocked me. This connection to Mr. Edgar.
Yes.
But
and I make once we get down later, I'll go deeper into my comment on this. But yes, this is a horrifying reveal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's quite horrifying.
Yeah. We hear Mr. Edgar saying, "It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that, even in Australia." He asks, "Do you want me to read it again?" We see Mr. Edgar is sitting on a couch reading the book to Victoria's daughter. She says, "Actually too old for that." He says, "Oh, you smart ass. Scoot, let me talk to your mom." She gets up, then Victoria walks into the room. Mr. Edgar says, "Bad days do happen. Maybe I need to read this to you." She says, "You have, about 1,000,000 times before bed." He smiles and asks, "Anything in the news?" She says, "Still nothing." He takes off his glasses and says, "Good," and then he looks at her. She sits down on the couch next to him. He says, "Tony was a friend of yours. I understand why you'd be upset." Victoria says, "Somebody at Vought dropped the ball. I can't have people showing up at my work calling me Nadia." Mr. Edgar says, "A cleaning crew sterilized the site within 15 minutes of the incident. No witnesses have come forward, and if they do, we'll deal with them, the same way you dealt with Tony. Come on, sport. Haven't I always taken care of you?" She nods, then leans over and puts her head on his shoulder. He gives her a hug. Interesting to see this side of him, you know?
It's very interesting. And what I was going to get at a minute ago, and while I waited till here, this is really scary for me as a whole, because you realize that he has every side of the equation on his side. Government, public, private. I mean, he's on every side of the equation here.
Yeah. Mr. Edgar.
And soon to be, and then soon to be, if Dakota Bob gets elected, hey, he might as well be the president.
I told you, man. Mr. Edgar is nothing to, thumb your nose at.
I didn't say he was.
Well, you were taking him down. You were downgrading his rating.
I downgraded his rating due to the handshake, due to the limp handshake, and the crying about racial inequality. When it's like
I kind of get his. I kind of see his side on that. Though.
Like you did a great job.
Now, one thing I noticed in this scene, this is kind of unrelated to the character. Well, in a little way it is, but his ears are pierced.
I saw that too. He's got 2 piercings on them.
Which I think that's just him in real life. He probably wears earrings, but there's nothing they could do about that for this. But it was uncharacteristic of Mr. Edgar, because to me, I wouldn't see him wearing earrings.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
But that's, minor. I didn't notice. Well,
that's me.
Okay. Well, we both noticed it. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that one too, because I'm like, yeah, I see that, and it's like, that's exactly what I was thinking too. It's like, yeah, that's very Stan.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he can't lose though. I mean, so it seems right now. I don't know what's going to happen. You've hinted at something that you may have possibly accidentally found out, but at the moment, this guy's looking like he's in the in the cat's. He's like he's in the spot to be, man. He's the bee's knees.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, don't take that thing that I heard too far. I didn't read deep into anything. It was an accidental side mention that I may have read into. Just be careful. You don't want to get too attached to that idea.
I know it because I saw one that's where I had to really be careful, because I think I saw something that was a real spoiler. Okay. So yeah, and you, like I said, I'm real proud of us. We both worked very hard to be unspoiled on this season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, some of the reveals have been really exciting. Like this one right here, dude, Mr. Edgar finding this connection
amazing.
Out. Yeah. Butcher is walking through a metal detector. The guard says, "Welcome. Next." The detector goes off when Butcher walks through. He says, oh, sorry, mate." He pulls his gun out of his waistband and moves to hand it to the guard, saying, "Here you go." The guard says, "Nice piece. Welcome." Then looks to the next person in line and says, "Next."
You know, I had to go back for some reason. I thought the guy saying when they walk off, it's like when somebody came through without a gun, it was like, "Can we get this guy a piece?" or something like that. I don't know if I checked. It's like, no, I just made that up. Sorry.
Yeah, this gun show is interesting. It's in New Jersey.
Nice. Okay. Jersey.
Yeah, but I thought they'd present people in the South like this, not people in Jersey. Just thought that was funny.
It is kind of funny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Butcher walks away and puts his gun back in his waistband. As he's walking, we see an ad that says, "Secure your freedom." The ad appears to be for a scope of some kind. We see a banner for the 33rd Annual Firearm Convention and Exposition at the New Jersey Exhibition Halls. Sponsors are Vought International and Gal Gear by Vought. Dude, I saw that and I was like, this is great. Gal Gear has tampons and gun accessories for women. Right? Amazing.
Nice. Yeah. That's a wide variety of accessories.
Mm-hmm. Now, Gal Gear is a reference from season 2. Gecko gave the Compound V sample to Starlight in a Gal Gear case with some tampons in it.
Yes.
So that's the first we saw of Gal Gear. Yeah. Butcher passes a sign that says, "Learn with gunpowder neutral firing position." He passes another sign that says, "Gunpowder is in panel room 104A." Butcher walks up to the children's play area. Some kids are coloring. There's a sign that says, "Please do not leave your children unattended." One child is sitting with his mother and checking out a rifle as she observes him. He's looking through the scope. In panel room 104A, Gunpowder is speaking. He says, "And I'll tell you something. If Dakota Bob Singer gets elected president, well, you say hello to left-wing socialism, because I'll tell you this right now. He's going to follow the George Soros globalist playbook to a T. Step 1, oppress the citizens and confiscate their firearms." Butcher sits down at the back. Behind him, there is a Gal Gear banner that has a picture of a woman holding a shotgun. It says, "I love protecting my family."
It's almost like it's the same thing as like, this icing is fantastic. It's like it's the same look,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't believe it has 0 calories. It's
lose 32 pounds in 10 easy steps.
Exactly. It's all the same. I love it, man.
Yeah. Gunpowder says, "Step 2, have it all gleefully reported by the so-called news media." Someone in the crowd yells, "Fake news!" Love it.
They ain't wrong.
Gunpowder continues, "And step 3, in every classroom around the country, they're going to teach your kids to hate America, the Constitution, and the Second Amendment. Good for us, the silent majority, and the Vought Rifle Association. Let me tell you something. We are armed and we're ready to fight back. Thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, 2 for 1 on hollow points on the way out. Use the promo code Gunpowder. God bless y'all." Behind them, there's a banner that says, "Welcome, Gunpowder. Get triggered." Sponsored by Gal Gear by Vought.
Let's just say he was magnificent here, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty good, man.
He was great, man.
I love him advertising the promo code. It is some affiliate link or something. Yeah.
Gunpowder. Oh, don't forget. 2 for 1 hollow points.
So, quick side note here. Did you recognize the actor playing him?
I did. It took me a second. I was like, I know this guy. Then I'm like, wait a minute. And it was who I thought it was.
Yeah, I didn't recognize him outright because he's got so many wrinkles on his face now.
Now, I don't know how much of that's played up either. I know some of it's real, but it could be played up too to make him look a little bit more gritty.
Yeah. So X-Ray says it's Sean Patrick Flannery. He's from Houston, actually.
See, that's when I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he wasn't born here, but he grew up here.
Close enough.
You would know him, for those of you that aren't familiar with his work, he was in the Boondock Saints, and he is the brother that was not in The Walking Dead. So the other one's Norman Reedus.
Yes.
Yeah. He also played the young Indiana Jones on the TV show and as Powder in that movie with the same name.
Okay. I did not know that. Now, the one thing I know him from that I really like, I look at it as an odd bookend movie. Have you ever seen Suicide Kings?
Yes, that's Christopher Walken in it, right?
That's Christopher Walken, and
Yeah.
he's one of the crew that is holding Christopher Walken.
Okay. Yeah, that's around that same era of
Same
movies.
era, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It has a very, like I said, I look at that as a great bookend because it has that same meanness and same funniness to it. It captures it, it walks that line pretty well. I'm surprised it's not a better loved movie. I love it, but it's on HBO Max, I think, right now.
That has the Lucky Number 11 feel to it, doesn't it? That style of
No,
movie.
no, this is the one where it's
No, but in terms of like you're talking about that feel of movie, isn't it kind of that type of feel? Similar story, isn't it?
I don't remember Lucky Number 11. In all honesty,
Okay.
I just to me it just because the idea is that you have Sean Patrick Flannery's woman is kidnapped for some strange reason, so they know that Christopher Walken is a mob man. He's actually a retired mob man, but they kidnap him in hopes that he has contacts and can help lead to this young lady who's been kidnapped. And Walken's bodyguard, the guy that helps him and is helping them look and all this stuff, is Dennis Leary.
Right.
But the whole crew that does it, you've got the guy that plays Leonard from Big Bang Theory. He's you'd recognize him also from Roseanne. I forget the guy's name at the moment. Oh, Johnny Galecki is also the other big name in that movie, but Christopher Walken is magnificent. It's Christopher Walken. What do you want? He's magnificent in absolutely everything.
Now, oddly enough, seeing Sean Patrick Flannery kind of brought an old memory up that I had completely forgotten about.
Okay.
About 20 years ago, I dated a girl who went to high school with his younger sister.
Oh, wow.
And she would go hang out at their house, and she met him a couple times. He was older, I want to say, because this was around 2001, 2002, like in that time frame. So, he would have been like at the height of his popularity at that time, right? So he's not living at home, he's out working, but she did meet him a couple times at their house. So
that's
I
cool.
just completely forgot about that, and I was really surprised that memory came back up. What I saw, I was like, memories are weird, man.
Memories are weird. I've been told the biggest trigger is smell.
Yeah, smell, and I do songs. Like I tie songs to people or a time in my life.
I do the same.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Music is a big tie for me to time.
Yeah, but smell definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gunpowder and Homelander are in the restroom using the urinals.
Not Homelander, Butcher.
Gunpowder and Butcher, thank you. Gunpowder and Butcher are in the restroom using urinals. Man, Homelander would piss right through that urinal. Probably knock the wall down.
Right?
Yep. Butcher says, "Excuse me, Mr. Powder." Mr. Powder? Oh, Gunpowder. Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Powder. I was thinking of the Powder of the movie. I was like, what?
I know. That was what's funny when I first saw that too. I saw this like, what? I'm like, okay.
Butcher says, "Excuse me, Mr. Powder. I'm your number one fan. I bought all your rifles, every one of them. That Vought VR-15. Ooh."
I love that. Man, Vought is. This is what scares me more and more. The more that you see that you don't ever not see Vought advertised, and they have their hands in every single thing. It's really scary how much they control.
Yeah,
maybe they control a big chunk of this country.
Is it kind of like General Electric?
I don't know. Were they that bad? I knew the General Electric had a pretty bad monopoly, but I wasn't really aware of the implications of it.
They make military weapons. They make appliances. They make industrial equipment. They own NBC, I believe.
Okay.
What was 30 Rock on? Because remember
NBC, yeah.
What's his name? Alec Baldwin's character kept talking about General Electric. That's where he came from. You remember? Like that was one of the running jokes on the show.
I didn't watch. I never watched that show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Alec Baldwin's character is actually pretty good on that show.
Okay,
it's pretty funny. Yeah,
it just one of these. I don't. It's just a different time, and just something that never caught me. And I don't know what it was about it that didn't. That why
a couple of the characters I can't stand, but Alec Baldwin's character is pretty good on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Gunpowder says, "That's a hell of a gun. Smooth trigger pull." Butcher says,
"I love how he sounds. That's a hell of a gun." Trigger pull.
I mean, he does sound like he's from Texas.
He does. He's really putting it on. But that's why when you tell me, I really see it, and I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah,
I love it.
Butcher says, "Smooth." I'd shake your hand, but well, Gunpowder says, well, I appreciate that. Gunpowder finishes, and he has quite a shaking ritual.
Well,
Then
imagine it's
walks away to wash his hands.
It's hard to get stains out of leather, I guess.
Butcher notices the ritual, and he's like kind of raises an eyebrow. Butcher finishes up and follows him. He says, yeah, I followed you since your payback days. I mean, 14 years old, picked to be Soldier Boy's sidekick. Gunpowder says, he was a great man. Well, it's nice meeting you, buddy. Butcher says, you must have been chuffed, eh? Helping him on his missions, letting him watch you on the bog, sticking his finger up your bum a bit, give him a sloppy little nosh. All in a day's work for a young ward, innit? Gunpowder says, like I haven't heard the sidekick pedo 1,000 times before. Why don't you do me a big favor, buddy, and off? Butcher says, you're right. I'm sorry. That's a filthy, unsubstantiated rumor. Gunpowder says, damn right it is. He begins to walk out. Butcher holds up a folded piece of paper and says, till now, this is a complaint you filed to Vought, begging to be taken off payback on account of, and I quote, Soldier Boy's habitual abuse. Of course they buried it, Vought being the they are. Gunpowder points at the paper and says, that right there is fake. Butcher says, course it is. Gunpowder asks, I'm sorry, who are you? Butcher says, I told you, biggest fan, and I want to help you. Keep stum. Be a crying shame if your red meat faithful out there found out you were Soldier Boy's underage knob gobbler. Now, all I want to know is what happened to him, and you're going to tell me. Gunpowder says, or maybe I put a bullet in your head. Another attendee walks into the restroom, and they pause the conversation as he walks by. Butcher says, you do that, and it'll be all over the interweb within an hour. Gunpowder says, see, buddy, I don't give a because that never happened. Soldier Boy never touched me like that. He walks out. Butcher walks out to the parking garage and gets into his vehicle. He looks in the rearview mirror and sees Gunpowder crouching between two cars. Butcher quickly lays down in the seat just as Gunpowder shoots through his back window. Butcher tries to look through his side view mirror, and Gunpowder shoots it off the vehicle. Butcher gets out of the vehicle and takes some shots at nothing in particular, and then he takes cover behind a pillar. A shot ricochets off of the pillar into Butcher's leg. Butcher runs to another pillar, shooting as he does. Gunpowder takes a shot as Butcher is running, and he misses him. We see Gunpowder walking calmly through the garage. He finds a spot where he can see Butcher through a mirror. He aims and ricochets a bullet off multiple objects. It's a really cool shot. We follow the bullet as it makes its way to Butcher.
So is his superpower being able to keep a hollow point together after it hits the first thing it hits?
Yeah, I was thinking, putting the suspension of disbelief aside that it hit 4 different objects and did not lodge into any of them or
suffer any
break
damage
into a million pieces.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a trigonometry expert as well.
Yes. Like Cyclops, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ultimately, it ends up hitting Butcher on the cheek, cutting his face open. It leaves a pretty good gash. It's like 3 or 4 inches long. Butcher thinks quickly and shoots multiple vehicles, activating their alarms as a distraction. This allows him to escape. Gunpowder finds the spot where Butcher was standing and sees blood pooled by his feet.
I like his quick thinking.
Butcher?
Yeah, good quick thinking.
Yeah, man. He improvises pretty well.
Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm. We are taken to the city. This is a tough scene right here. Just a warning in advance. Yep. A woman named Chelsea is on top of a building and she's about to step off. The square below is filled with onlookers and media. Ashley is there. Homelander is on the roof and says, hi, Chelsea. It's your lucky day. Well, considering you're my annual birthday save. This made me wonder, how many of these does he have to perform on a regular basis?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some contractual obligation somewhere. Got to save X amount of this and do this much of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wouldn't you think? I'm assuming that
he's saying it's an annual thing, right?
This is just for his annual birthday save, but you brought this up as a general wondering. I'm assuming he's contractually obligated to do certain things.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I'm just thinking if there's enough of them for him to have to do one on every one of his birthday celebrations, then he's got to be doing a ton of these things, man.
Oh, yeah.
Chelsea says, don't come any closer. Homelander says, life is a precious gift. To throw yours away would be a real slap in the Lord's face, don't you think? You don't want to go to hell for all eternity, do you? She says, I'm Jewish.
I love that Jews may not believe in hell, but their religion does. It's like a lot, just like folks. Sorry, I mean, go ahead. It's kind of funny because the Old Testament is the same thing that we follow too. I mean,
okay.
So we have the same Bible. We just have the New Testament. They don't believe in that, but the old stuff doesn't say that it doesn't exist. There's afterlives.
Okay.
But as a religion, they believe in it. But culturally, they seem to have adopted this. Well, we're Jewish. We don't believe in hell. It's like, I don't know where they get that from.
Okay.
Because I looked it up specifically because I'm like, I don't understand where this comes from. It's like, yeah, Judaism as a religion sees it as real. Jews may not believe in it singularly, but I don't, that's just a personal thing. So,
is it the methodology of going there is different potentially? Like what makes you go there is different for them? Or, I mean, if it's based on the same core principles at the base level, I would think, I don't know.
And I don't get it either. I mean, I don't, because I don't understand enough of the nuance on that.
Okay.
But they say it so blanketly. This is not the first. I looked it up. The reason I looked it up because I've heard that statement from a lot of Jews that, well, I'm Jewish. We don't believe in hell. It's like I'm on my fifth read through the Bible, and that may not say hell in particular in the Old Testament, but it does refer to a holding place that is an afterlife. Sheol. I mean, so there is an and it can mean depending on places, I guess, in contextual. The Greek and or Hebrew or Aramaic that it's written in, I guess it might imply different eternal destinations. But okay. Sheol had different implications, though. But it's in the Bible in the Old Testament quite a bit. So,
okay. Homelander says, all right, well, regardless, step back from the ledge, please. Down in the street, Ashley is speaking with a cameraman. She says, okay, that's good. Just don't be afraid of the zoom. You're not Roger Deakins. I didn't know who he was, so I looked him up. Sir Roger Alexander Deakins, CBE, is an English cinematographer best known for his collaborations with directors the Coen brothers, Sam Mendes, and Denis Villeneuve. Now, those are some heavy-hitting directors.
Yeah. Coen brothers list here that you've got listed, and I've seen the Blade Runner movie. I've still not seen Sicario. He did 1984. I love 1984.
Yeah, so he's got a wide range of movies. I brought a list of some of them. Yeah, so 1917, I think, is the most recent one, and that was
I need to see
designed to be appear like it was a one single shot,
real time. You know what? Do you know the difference between a real time movie and a regular movie? Right?
No.
Usually the normal, I don't know how 1917 was filmed, but usually when real time has not been done very often, because instead of doing like normal 3 to 5 minute pieces at a time, that's about the longest they'll go. Normally in a continual take movie, that's usually 10 minutes a pop.
Okay.
So they have to be real good and real rehearsed out to do a real-time movie because the cuts are longer and are hidden between the 10-minute cuts versus how most movies cut from every 2 to 5. It's usually 2 to 3 minutes nowadays on cuts. That's long. Normally it's more like 90 seconds probably nowadays.
Right.
Between cuts. But yeah, that's the main difference that you'll notice in a real-time movie. Now, I don't know if that still holds true for the modern era, but there's not a whole lot of movies I can think of. You have Rope by Hitchcock, Running Time with Bruce Campbell in it as a guy who gets out of jail and commits a robbery. And it all takes place within 70 minutes of him being released and the end of the movie kind of deal, So I like the concept of real-time movies.
The one scene that really sticks out to me, I don't think the whole movie was filmed this way, but Children of Men, there was a scene towards the end of the movie that was like, it was one of those long shots.
Yeah.
And it was like an action sequence too.
Yeah. I need to go back and watch Children of Men because I've been wanting to, because I've only seen it once and that was a really good one.
Yeah. It's got a lot of good people in it. Clive Owen. It's got Michael Caine.
And that's Ridley Scott directed, correct?
No, it was one of those Mexican directors. What was his name?
Did he produce it?
What's that guy? I don't know.
I'll look it up real quick because I got mine over
Okay.
here.
Well, okay. So the movies that Sir Roger Alexander Deakins directed. So 1917, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, No Country for Old Men, Fargo, True Grit, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Skyfall, which is my favorite Bond movie.
I
And
love
I love the
Skyfall.
cinematography in that movie.
Yeah.
The Big Lebowski, The Village, 1984, Intolerable Cruelty. I mean,
I like it. I like all the Coen stuff,
dude, like half these movies are like in my top 20.
Yeah.
It's like crazy, man.
For me,
It's like,
especially with Lebowski and Oh Brother and Fargo and No Country, those are like I have a hard time separating Coen brothers great movies. You know, it's kind of like Tarantino. They're great movies, and then there's their other movies which are not bad movies. They're still great movies, but they're not their great movies. And you know, so
True Grit wasn't one of their great movies to you?
no, because it was such, and I like it, but it's such a shot for shot, word for word remake, as opposed to being like just more of an homage. Which I don't know what I don't know what I was anticipating.
I never saw the original, so to me it was.
I don't dislike, again, and this is the thing with Coen Brothers. It's just like Tarantino. I love all Tarantino movies. That's on the table. But there are Tarantino movies I like better than other Tarantino movies.
Yes, I agree with that.
So, and that's kind of how it is for Coen Brothers movies. I love almost all. Now, not all, but I like almost everything that they do. But some things I like a lot better than others.
Right.
And even if you don't like them, they're still well done movies because they are masters.
Yeah. Did you get the director for Children of Men?
Yes, his name was Alfonso Cuarón.
Okay. He is Mexican, right?
I'm assuming so. Let me click on him real quick. Yes.
Okay.
He's actually 9 years old. He's 9 years older than me. No, he's not. Yeah, he's born 9 years before me.
I remember it was one of those famous Mexican directors.
Yeah, I've heard that name. I think I've seen something else of his. I'll look. Oh, he might have done a bunch of Harry Potters. I've never seen any Harry Potter. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think he did that. Okay, I thought he did more serious movies.
Well, it says on Harry Potter, so I don't know if he. I'll dig deep while we're continuing on here.
Okay.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So he did E2 Mama Tambien. That's one I've heard of. Never seen it, but I've heard of that. He did Gravity.
Oh, he did Gravity. Okay.
Gravity. Yeah. Okay.
I just remember one last point on him. Gravity was one of the most stressful movies I've ever sat through. I walked stressful. Out of there by cortisol must have been
Were you sweating?
Yeah, dude. I mean, like I watched it with the kids the other day, and I was just as stressed. I don't know if I was just as stressed as when I saw it in the theater, because I saw it in 3D in the theater, and that was actually a movie that did a good job with 3D, because when like the space debris started coming in, it was like exploding in your face. I'm like, oh my gosh, because like a lot of times they have to work in these stupid 3D scenes on purpose just to make the cost of the ticket justified. And this was not one that felt like that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So after Ashley admonishes this one cameraman saying that he's not this great Roger Alexander Deakins, she addresses another one. This guy's just a TV cameraman.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, you got to start somewhere. Ridley started on TV.
Okay. Michael Mann did too, right?
Michael Mann.
We need to move on. We need to move on. Just stop it. We need to.
Okay, move along.
Ashley addresses another cameraman saying, Mike, frame up. He could be flying down any second. Mike says, yep, you got it. Ashley looks at her phone and says, oh. She looks up at the top of the building. Back on top of the building, Homelander says, come on, look, I'm here now. If you jump, I'm just going to fly down to save you anyway. It's all futile. And he turns around and sees a big screen broadcasting a Vought News Network breaking news segment. The title reads, Stormfront Suicide. Ominous music starts playing. He begins shaking his head and says, she wouldn't. It's my birthday. We see the news has leaked video footage of the coroner wheeling her body out of the tower. They show footage of Homelander and Stormfront waving to a crowd at a rally. He shakes his head and says, you probably don't know this because, Jew, but Jesus wasn't born on the 25th of December. That was piggybacked off of a pagan festival. And guess what? Today is not my birthday either. Nope. Don't know when it is, but sure as hell ain't today. This was just chosen for me by a marketing department. I mean, I can't even have a birthday at all. I wasn't born. I was just poured out of a test tube. Immaculate conception. I know exactly how he must have felt. You give and you give. You give your whole life, and what happens? People just tear you down. Why do people destroy their gods? How is it fair that you get saved while a beautiful, perfect God gets killed?
It's of no relevance to me personally, but some people bring this up as an issue to say that, well, it can't be true because we hijacked someone's other holiday. Now, I've dug deep and found there to be no evidence that there was any definitive thing done until like 354. So in the middle 4th century, they started celebrating that. But as you and I also discussed, that people celebrated things from around, any harvest time and any solstice time too. So if there was something there, it doesn't change anything for me. And again, I was never taught that Jesus was born on Christmas, or it's just a celebration of when he was born. So, and again, it wouldn't make it any less true to me even if we did co-opt their holiday. So,
yeah. He stops and shakes his head. After a moment, he goes on. You know what, Chelsea? I think you should jump. She says, I don't think I want to. He says, you don't want to? Why don't you show a little follow through, Chelsea? Jump. She starts begging, please, I just want to get down. He says, I'm not suggesting anymore. Jump. She starts crying and says, no, please. Oh God. He says, no. No, God. The only man in the sky is me. His eyes start to glow. Down on the street, Ashley is on the phone. She says, how the did she bite off her own tongue? She turns to also Ashley and says, Stormfront $1 million babied herself. Also, Ashley says, that's horrible. Ashley says, oh, so she is interrupted as Chelsea's body falls from the sky and explodes when it hits the ground. Ashley is stunned. People start screaming. Homelander's still on the roof, staring off into space. This is a huge turn of events. Homelander turning his back on being the, air quotes, hero he was leads to a really scary future. You know?
I'm starting to be really scared of this.
Yeah.
And I think this can, and also to the point where I said that part of this show makes me uncomfortable. I should be praising the show for doing such a good job of making me uncomfortable, because I don't want these people in my universe. I don't even want guys that are supposed good guys in my universe like this. We don't need these guys running around. So I'm not a big fan. So this makes it more horrific, and I think that me seeing it as such is part of the fact that that's what I read into it too. I think it's very horrific to have these people strolling around.
Yeah, the thing is, they're humans just like the rest of us, right? And we all, I don't care how good you think you are, we all have our flaws, right?
Oh, yes, we do. One of my favorite people puts it like this. He said, it's like, if you knew me like I knew myself, you probably wouldn't want to know me. But hold on. He says, if I knew you like you really know you, I probably wouldn't want to know you either. So let's just move along.
Yeah. And then you add power on top of that.
Yes.
And the effect it has on people, what they do to keep it, if they're going to lose it, it's really, it's absolutely terrifying.
And especially for Homelander, whose own idea of power derives strictly from physicality versus understanding what real power is. I'm afraid that he's going to learn the lesson at the expense of Stan. Edgar could be teaching him some bad lesson here. Homelander may learn a lesson and may learn it very well.
What's that?
Just when he decides maybe Homelander could be, I don't know if he's got anything going behind the scenes. I don't think he's that deviant or devious like he was in season 1, being the revealer of the, sneaking the V and stuff. But everything we're doing to him is going to push him so far. And I don't know what kind of reaction this is going to lead to.
Oh yeah, I want to see it.
Is it exactly? I'm dying to see the reaction. I'm scared to see the reaction, and at the same time, it's going to be like a train wreck. I'm going to be unable to take my eyes away from his reaction when it happens.
Yeah. We go to MM's apartment where MM is taking some medicine. He walks into a room and we see he has laid out a ton of papers on the floor in his typical organized manner.
Yes.
One sheet is crooked and he straightens it out. Janine calls out to him saying, "Daddy, it smells smoky." He comes out of the room into the kitchen. Something is burning on the stove and the smoke alarm is going off. He says, "It's okay, baby, I got it." He takes the pot off the stove and puts it in the sink, then gets a broom and attempts to knock the alarm off the ceiling. He knocks it off, and then he's trying to shut it off. He's getting frustrated. He's smashing the alarm repeatedly on the ground, saying, "Piece of shut that up." He finally manages to smash it and sees Janine is scared by his reaction. He says, "I'm sorry, baby, I'm sorry." He walks towards her, and she backs away from him. He holds his hands up. After a moment, she comes up and gives him a hug. He starts crying and says, "I'm sorry." Now, I'm having a real tough time with this episode in terms of watching MM suffer like this. You know, he's my favorite character. So
yeah, he's mine too. Him and Frenchie,
yeah.
or him and Frenchie and Kamiko. But him, his name, the actor's his name's Laz Alonso. And man, this guy does a great job of portraying this OCD nightmare that MM goes through, dude. And I'm like you, it's hard to watch because he does such a good job of making you feel it.
Yeah. Huey walks into the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs office. He's greeting people as he walks through. He runs into Victoria. She says, "Huey." He chuckles and says, "Hi." She asks, "Hey, where you been?" He says, just working from home." She notices the bandage on his hand and says, "Oh my God, your hand." He says, yeah, no, it's nothing. I'm fine." She asks, "So who's Nadia?" He asks, "Nadia?" She says, "Yeah, Scotty says some guy came in yesterday asking for Nadia." Huey says, yeah. No, there was a guy, and he was looking at your picture. He said your name was Nadia. Said he knew you from like way back when." She asks, "You weren't going to tell me?" He says, "No, I mean, it was just some guy off his meds. Seemed like, yeah." She shakes her head and says, "I'm sorry. I mean, you're missing work, your hand, lot going on." He says, and smiles. She asks, "Is there something I should know?" Huey's mouth is agape, and there's an uncomfortable pause as she's looking at him for an answer.
Yeah.
Starlight comes in to save Huey. She says, "He was with me. I'm sorry for stealing him away from you, but we had some things that we needed to discuss." Very loudly, actually. "We made quite the scene at Panera." Huey says, "Oh." Starlight goes on, "I mean, it's a miracle nobody recognized me." Huey says, "Yeah, sorry. I was trying to preserve just a tiny little shred of my dignity, but we had a fight." Starlight says, "We didn't leave things in the greatest place, so I thought I would come by and..." Huey interrupts with, "Check up on me?" She says, "Well, I was worried about you." He says, "Yeah, well, I can handle some things by myself, right?" She says, "Okay, I'm just trying to help." He says, "I don't always need your help. I mean, you don't have to treat me like I'm a kid." She says, "Here I was thinking that I was treating you like my boyfriend." Victoria has finally had enough and says, "Well, this is actually none of my business. So I'm going to go. Good luck with all that." "Oh, and Huey?" He says, "Yeah." Victoria says, "Cut her some slack. You shouldn't be afraid of a powerful woman." She smiles and walks away.
I think as we have overemphasized in this episode, Huey is most definitely not afraid of a powerful woman.
Well, the way I took that, Victoria's a powerful woman. And that's what's ironic about that statement, because Huey is terrified of her.
Yes, she is. But she's different. She's different, powerful. She's a rupturing person. She can rupture you and do awful things to you. It's like Starlight could too, sure, but Starlight is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank the Lord.
She
generally
doesn't
being raised by Stan Edgar.
She generally doesn't get guts all over people when she attacks them with her powers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
She can usually blast it away and hit them away, but this is also what you get for having a woman who's been raised by and groomed by Stan Edgar. That makes her way more scary because of her manipulation training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having him in her corner, that's crazy. Just that's tactics, insight.
Yes. Yeah, he's a powerful individual to learn from.
Yeah. Out in Huey's car, he's showing Starlight the photos from the flash drive. Starlight has her hand over her mouth and says, "Oh my God." Huey says, "Thanks for the save, by the way. What are you doing here?" She says, "What am I doing here?" "Well, Alex said you were acting weird, and I've been calling you literally every 5 minutes, so." He says, "Right. Sorry, I left my phone off at Red River." She says, "I thought we were going to handle that together." He says, "I know. I'm sorry." She notices the cut on his hand and says, "And you're bleeding." He says, "I know, because I can't open a jar, because I can't do anything right." Again, I don't like this attitude, the way he's talking about himself.
I agree. I don't like him being down on himself for missing this. No one saw this. No one expected him to see that. But it's. I guess it's also because he's just had everything just taken away from him so abruptly.
Yeah.
This past year has almost meant nothing, and it meant so much to him. It meant a lot to us. We enjoyed seeing that camaraderie with her and him.
Mm-hmm.
And to find out she's this one, you're like, whoa, well, that's scary.
Yeah.
We knew it, but for him to find it out is even more scary because now Huey's in danger.
Right. Starlight says, "Huey, what's going on?" Huey says, "Vicky was my friend. I know her daughter. She surprised me in the office on my birthday. We used to roll through that office like we were the untouchables. I thought things were finally going my way. God, what a damn joke I am." Starlight says, "Hey, that's not true, Huey." She shakes her head. Huey says, "Oh, I may have signed us up to adopt a child." This causes her to do a slow head turn to look at him. I love that look she gives him. Like,
it's
what
great.
did you just say?
Yeah. And like I said, I'm just curious if this show goes on, if we're just going to get that phone call one of these episodes, be like, "Oh, by the way, we have your child ready for you."
Teddy Stillwell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Stillwell. There you go. Dude, good call.
They had to put him there for some reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they got to be doing something with him in the future.
They wouldn't just show that. That's not just they don't throw anything away.
Right. Shows up at Monique's house. Before he rings the doorbell, he taps the top of it multiple times. Todd answers the door and says, "Hey, look at that. 7 tower. Amazing."
That thing is huge.
It is. It's like 4 feet tall. 524 pieces or whatever it was.
Yes. Yeah. That's large.
Hands Todd the toy Butcher bought for Janine. Janine says, "Bye, Dad." They hug and tells her, "I love you, baby." She says, "I love you too," then walks in. Asks Todd, "Is Monique here?" Todd calls out to Monique, "Monique, Marvin's here." He then asks "Hey, you going to stay for Homelander's birthday special? I got some brats on the grill." Says, "Think I'll pass, but thanks." Monique comes to the door and notices the state is in, and he's looking rough.
Yes. This is really hard to watch him here in particular.
Yeah. They're sitting on a couch, and you can see MM's hand twitching. He says, "I've been trying, Monique. I've been trying to stay away from all of it. The soups, Butcher, for Janine, and for you." She says, "I know." He continues, "But this soldier boy thing came up, and the baggage there. I tried upping my meds, just..." She says, "You're having bad thoughts again." He says, "And the tics and the compulsions. Monique, I lost my in front of Janine. It's like Soldier Boy. He's like this steel sliver inside of my brain after I don't know what to do." He's about to start crying. She thinks for a moment and says, "You need to go back to Butcher. That's what. I never wanted to try to turn you into something you're not. I hate that you're making yourself sick over it. Maybe I can't be with you anymore, Marvin, and I'm sorry for that. But you should go do what you have to do. Face this down." He says, "Please don't tell Janine about this, about any of it. My pops, none of it. I just want to leave her out of it." She says, "Janine will be right here waiting. Just stay safe for her."
I was extremely pleasantly surprised by this turn of events with Monique.
Okay.
Just because of the fact that she was so, she understands more than she understands now that she's away from it. I think that he apparently needs this something. I mean, he's been fighting this compulsion to do this, and I get it now that we have made the. I'm assuming that the assumption is Soldier Boy killed his family. Correct?
Not his family.
Not his family. Okay.
How far do you want me to go into this?
Let's just leave it right there.
Okay. Inside the boys' office within the triangular Flatiron building in the city.
I want to go there.
I think
I
I've
want to go
been
see
there.
that building. Have you? Awesome.
Yeah. I used to live in Greenwich, so it was like a 50-minute train ride to get down there. So I'd go down there periodically.
That's such an
Yeah,
iconic building.
it is. It's beautiful. I think there's a
It
one
is.
similar looking in Boston, if I'm not mistaken. I
Huh.
seem to remember a triangle building in Boston too. I'll have to look up and see if there was one.
Okay. Cool.
Kamiko is watching the news on TV and playing with an origami figure. There's a crowd protesting on TV chanting, "Stormfront was right." The Vought News Network broadcast title reads, "Hundreds gathered to mourn Stormfront." And below that, it says, "Home Depot reports tiki torch shortage."
That's great.
Man.
I guess I can't think of any other uses for tiki torches other than parties and angry mobs.
The news anchor says the storm chasers marched in Portland today, mourning their fallen idol Stormfront. When violence broke out between, she hears someone walking up and turns off the TV. Frenchie walks up and says, "Monker, look at this." He hands her a phone with a video of a roller coaster playing. He says, "Six Flags in Queensbury. We go tomorrow. We ride the Grease Lightning and Steamin' Demon until we vomit the donut hamburgers, huh?" She signs, "It was never about the roller coaster." Frenchie says, "I know." She continues, "Kenji and I didn't have a childhood. I just did the same thing to that little girl and her brother." She's crying as she's signing this to Frenchie. He says, "No." She signs, "How can they ever be children again?" He says, "Monker, no, that wasn't your fault." She says, "I'll never be a normal girl who likes roller coasters. I'm broken and can never be fixed because of this poison, this curse in my veins." She hands Frenchie his phone, and he just kind of looks defeated. He doesn't really have much to give her here.
Yeah.
And I
He
just,
doesn't.
I don't like the way she's looking at herself this way.
I don't either. I guess it's kind of a weird common parallel between her and Huey,
I
feeling
was gonna
sorry for
say, I wrote
themselves.
that. I erased it. I was like, is this a parallel? I don't know. But
It
yeah,
kind of
it's
is in a
just,
weird way. But the one thing I do like, though, and you pointed this out early, but seeing them able to communicate, at least she can tell them.
yes.
At least she can tell him.
Mm-hmm.
That may not seem like it's much, but it means something being able to get it out.
Yeah. It's interesting. We're going through season 2, and I was thinking it was about this stage where I was like, man, these characters are going through it was either bad stuff or I wasn't liking a lot of what was going on. It's like a similar, we got to
We
set
do
up the
that.
problem so we can have the redemption arc or the growth,
Well, each. What's funny, if you watch Netflix. Now, Sandman, I've noticed, is an exception to this, but mostly the Netflix shows, and I love a lot of their shows, they have a certain way that they pace their shows and the way that they run it. And Amazon also has their own way of how they do their shows. They're kind of similar, but they're not at the same time. But this is part of how Amazon does their pacing with the boys.
Okay.
It very much they mimic their pacing from the previous years.
Okay.
It's kind of, I think it's a very common thread, and that's just how that they run their shows. I think it's just how they're going to run their shows. And I'm not, and this is not a negative comment on that. It's just you watch enough stuff, you notice certain things.
Yeah.
And it's just how that they do their show versus how Netflix does their show. They both do great product.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I wasn't necessarily criticizing it. It was just, I was noticing how similar it was to this time in last season. Right.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
It's not a critique. It's just how they're paid. It's just they pay. And that's something I've recently noticed was how the different companies pace differently. And I was just talking with Christy last night about that, going, hey, I've noticed that the different companies track different. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Butcher's in his apartment. He's tending to his wound on his leg, and he's sweating. He's got to be in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
He plays the video that Ryan sent him. Ryan has made the video with Legos for Butcher. The audio track is a message Becca left for Ryan on voicemail. She says, "Hi, buddy. I'm sorry I'm running late. I thought I'd have time to sneak in a haircut. It always takes longer than I think it will. There's some double stuffs in the pantry, but only 2, mister. More than 2, and I will know. Okay, I'm hanging up now. Just wanted to tell you that I love you and I'll see you soon. So I love you and I'll see you soon. Butcher starts to cry as he's listening. He closes the laptop when the video is over. Now, a couple things here. The first thing is he more touched that he heard Becca's voice or that Ryan made this video for him?
At first I kind of wanted to think it was Becca, but the closer he gets to Ryan, I'm sure it's because of Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
He's becoming a kind of a substitute dad for him because he's told Butcher his nightmares. That's a pretty big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think this kid to open up to him like that. So I think this also may be a driving, I think Butcher now has moved from wanting to get rid of Homelander, not only for revenge, but also to protect Ryan. So Brian can be a little boy and not worry about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I was thinking about was Ryan was talking about this earlier. Remember, he was saying that when he's feeling down, he listens to this and it makes him feel better. Yeah.
Yes.
And I was thinking that, this probably would help Butcher too.
It would. It's because it's an innocuous message. It's not, it's just it's a sweet message. And it was, and I got choked up. You're reading it almost. Mm-hmm. So it's such a sweet video. So
yeah. It was touching. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact
touching.
that Ryan thought to make it for him is even better.
Yes.
Huey is washing the dishes when he gets a call from Butcher. He says, Butcher? Butcher says, "You all right, mate?" Huey asks, "Hey, Frenchie told me about Crimson Countess. What the hell happened?" Butcher says, "We was chasing down something, but I'm gonna knock it on the head. You was right the other day. Things are good. Ryan's good. I should leave it well enough alone before I go and it all up." Huey is struggling, trying to decide whether to tell Butcher about Victoria. Mm-hmm. Butcher says, "You there?" Finally, Huey just blurts out, "Newman's a soup. She's the head popper." Butcher asks, "Yeah, what?" Huey says, "Yeah, what? She's pretty much Stan Edgar's daughter, too. Past year of my life has been a waste. I thought we could fight Vought the right way, but we can't. It's all rigged. If we're going to take them down, we have to do whatever it takes, but we have to do it your way. Butcher, you there?" Butcher doesn't respond. He hangs up and is staring at the cookie jar containing the V24. Now, I was thinking in this scene, now that Huey is getting experience in the real world, he's realizing that Butcher had a reason for acting the way he does.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when he realizes that the game is completely rigged, mm-hmm. all in Vaught's favor. They mm-hmm. the house.
Yeah.
They are the house in this country, apparently, period. They probably control mm-hmm. both sides. It doesn't really matter. There is Vought and then there's the rest.
Homelander is laying in Stormfront's bed and touching the pool of blood left where she died. And that's a pretty short scene, but he's in some pain right there.
Yes, he is.
Now, this next scene is tough. So, warning.
It's tough.
We go to Gunpowder. He is walking through a parking garage. He says, "You got to be kidding me. Get your ass off my car." Butcher is leaning on a Dodge Challenger. The license plate says 2A forever. Love it.
I do too. That's awesome. What's funny, I didn't realize it said 2A at first. I thought it just said 24 forever. I'm like, wait, what? And then I'm like, oh, 2A forever. That's great, man.
Butcher says, "Why are you protecting Soldier Boy? If he'd have slipped me a length, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd throw him to the dogs." Gunpowder nods, then draws his pistol and fires 3 rounds into Butcher. Butcher falls to the ground. Gunpowder chuckles, then says, "Oh." Butcher gets up. He looks down at his chest and pulls open his shirt. 3 bullets fall to the ground. He smiles and grabs Gunpowder's gun. He grips it and squeezes, causing it to break in half. Gunpowder tries to draw his other pistol. Butcher headbutts him, knocking him down. He picks him up and punches him a couple of times. Gunpowder is laying on the ground. He punches Butcher in the crotch, then punches him several more times as he stands up. Butcher punches Gunpowder, launching him into the side of the car. This is one punch. It causes the windows to shatter. Yeah, it's really hard.
The other thing is that he knows how to fight. That's the other part that makes his super strength nastier.
Oh man, he's a dirty fighter normally, right? Yeah.
He's a dirty fighter, yes. So yeah, it makes him a truly mean son of a
Yeah,
gun with
he
powers.
had a smile on his face when he launched that punch that knocked him back into the car.
Yeah.
Butcher sets Gunpowder up, then punches him 3 times, alternating hands. And these are hard punches. Gunpowder says, okay, okay. He spits blood and a number of teeth out. He then says, please.
Dude, it's half of his
Yeah,
upper right,
it looks
his
really
upper
bad.
left there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gunpowder says, please, Soldier Boy used to slap me around a little bit, all right? It was just hazing that went too far, all right? That's it. Butcher says, what happened to him? Gunpowder says, he didn't die in an accident, all right? The whole nuclear meltdown thing, it was just bullshit. Butcher says, I know that. What killed him? Gunpowder says, I don't know. Butcher punches him again. Gunpowder yells, I don't know. I don't know, all right? We were in Nicaragua in 84, but I didn't see it happen. Butcher says, well, you must have seen something. Gunpowder says, I didn't see. I was just a kid. Ask the others. Ask the CIA. Butcher asks, CIA? Gunpowder says, yeah, we were working with the CIA. Butcher asks, who was the case officer? Gunpowder says, Grace Mallory. All right.
Were you at all surprised by that
Not
reveal?
really. When I heard CIA, I was like, this
Yeah,
is not going to be good.
Yeah. It's exact. When he said CIA, my mind went right to Mallory.
Yeah, she had to have been young when that was going on, right? Case officer, that's pretty low level. Yeah.
It'd been 80s. Yeah, that'd have been 80s,
so
right?
She would have been in her 30s, probably. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Butcher takes this in. He doesn't look happy to hear that. He grabs Gunpowder by the shoulder and sits him back up. Gunpowder says, look, please, look. Look, I told you everything. I know. All right? Please, just. Butcher says, I know you did, but it don't change what you are. Butcher begins punching him. He punches him 12 times. On punch 9, the sound changes from punching noises to progressively crunchier noises, like he's smashing through stuff. It's really rough. Terrible scene.
Yeah, I actually turned away from this part of it.
Fortunately, they're not showing.
It was hard to watch, yeah.
Well, they do actually kind of show his face a little bit, so yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Butcher yells and his eyes begin to glow. He lasers through Gunpowder and the car. He closes his eyes and stumbles around. When he opens his eyes again, he lets loose another laser blast. Finally, the lasers stop. He looks at Gunpowder and the top of his skull slides off. Then the car behind him collapses. Butcher is covered in blood and is breathing heavily after the exchange. Very intense scene, really gruesome.
Very intense. It's one of the most gruesome things I think we've seen in some ways. It's the personalness of it. There's been things that have been more violent in certain ways, but again, there's something about the intimacy of just almost he would have beat him to death if his laser vision didn't kick in and finish the job.
I'm pretty sure he was already dead, man. I have to think he was.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking.
When you start hearing those crunching noises, I think he's caved his skull in at that point. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was pretty nasty.
We are taken to the Homelander birthday extravaganza. Supersonic is performing License to Drive Me Crazy.
Finger bang.
Finger bang, bang. Bang, bang.
Bang. Bang, bang, bang.
We get some new lyrics. Your road's getting wetter. You're so fine when you're cruising in your Jetta. Cruising in your Jetta for me. Cruise in your Jetta for me. Baby, baby, baby. Got your license to drive. Oh, finally, got your license to drive me crazy. Come on, pretty baby. Make me feel so alive. Got your license to drive. License to drive. Now that you're 16, me crazy.
16. Yeah.
It's not right.
They should have changed it to at least 18.
I mean, when they were teenagers singing this stuff, I mean, there's some underlying innuendo there that's probably a little too far, but like a 30-year-old man singing is just wrong. It's not right.
Yeah. It's very uncomfortable.
Supersonic was on stage alone, dancing and air quotes singing. I think he was lip syncing for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Even though he had a microphone on. Mr. Edgar seems
That's to sell it.
unimpressed with the performance. He's in the audience.
Dude, he's the original. He's part of the original boy band. He's probably not very impressed.
Yep. Backstage, Starlight is watching Homelander out of the corner of her eye. He is standing stone-faced. He has had a bad birthday day. Yeah, he's had all his toys taken away from him.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. Too bad old Eve. I mean, Storefront off herself on his B-Day.
How could she do that? Did she even think of him on his birthday? What a selfish thing to do.
Right. I know it, dude.
A-Train walks out when Supersonic is done. They shake hands as Supersonic walks off stage. A-Train's wearing his new outfit that Ashley has yet to approve.
And would never, and I do not approve.
What is it really just blatant. The browns and stuff on it? Like what?
It's just straight up. I think it's just trying to be like so many of the other of the African color scheme that you see on flags. Or
it's the tribal garb color scheme of a tribe. I'm not sure which tribe, right?
He's from some tribe in Brooklyn. So I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't know where A-Train is from, but he's from the hood. So it's like his tribe is from there. His tribe is not
Chicago. He was from the south side of Chicago. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so his tribe is from the south side of Chicago. I'm sorry. He's American.
Ashley is watching from the production room. She says, "What the is he wearing? What the is he wearing?" A-Train says, "Yeah, all right. Let's hear it for Supersonic, everybody." Ashley is having a fit. She says, "Get me wardrobe. Get me wardrobe so I can choke them out." A-Train says, "All right, so now I would like to bring out our co-captains. So let's give it up for Starlight and the man of the hour himself, Homelander." Homelander and Starlight walk out. A-Train walks up to him and says, "Happy birthday, Homelander." Homelander says, "Hey, thank you." They shake hands and A-Train says, "Yeah." Homelander pulls him close and says, "I can see your girdle, you disgusting fat. Get off the stage."
Wow.
Dang. I mean,
he's harsh.
Yes.
A-Train has become the new target
deep,
for him.
Yeah, deep replacement.
Deep, yeah.
The crowd is clapping and cheering for Homelander and Starlight. Starlight says, "Wow, I'm so honored to be with you guys tonight to celebrate my dear friend and mentor, Homelander. I'm here to do more than wish you a happy birthday, though. I'm thrilled to be announcing a project that is near and dear to my heart. The Starlight House is a non-profit foundation dedicated to helping homeless and at-risk youth." Some random guy in the audience yells out, "Hey, Homelander, your died." Ashley says, "Did he just say his died?" Security comes and escorts the heckler out of the auditorium. Homelander's face starts twitching. I think this is the straw that breaks his back.
Is it that, or is it the next thing from Starlight? Is it the combination of the two?
I mean,
I think that really did push him. I think you're right. That probably is the main impetus there, but I think Starlight did add insult to injury.
Okay, so Starlight says, "Homelander, he's a human. He's just like the rest of us. And we all make mistakes, right? But we all deserve second chances. In that spirit, Homelander has agreed to donate $10 million to the Starlight House," which is, Homelander says no. Starlight claps and goes on and says, "Come on, give it up." And so she's trying to get the crowd to clap along with her. Homelander again says no. Starlight says, "Give it up for this guy." Homelander says, "No, no, no." He walks up to the microphone and says, "Starlight lied to you just now. She did. I don't make mistakes. I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better. I'm not some weak-kneed crybaby that goes around apologizing all the time. And why the would you want me to be?" Ashley is freaking out. She says, "Go to commercial, Roger. Go to commercial." Homelander hears this and points up to the production booth saying, "Don't you dare stop rolling, Roger." That's super hearing, man.
That's scary. That's some scary stuff.
Ashley reaches for her hair and starts to begin pulling on it.
Yeah, she does.
Homelander then addresses the crowd. "All my life, people have tried to control me. My whole life. Rich people, powerful people have tried to muzzle me, cancel me, keep me impotent and obedient, like I'm a puppet. You know what? It worked because I allowed it to work. And guess what? If they can control me, then you can bet your ass they can control you. They already do. You just don't realize it. I'm done. I am done apologizing. I am done being persecuted for my strength. You people should be thanking Christ that I am who I am and what I am, because you need me. You need me to save you. You do. I am the only one who possibly can. You're not the real heroes. I'm the real hero. I'm the real hero. Now, when he repeats that last line, we have a nice shot showing him from behind. He's washed out by the stage lights, and we have a bit of lens flare. As he's giving this speech, we see a number of people watching and their reactions. Mr. Edgar watches from the audience. He's stone-faced as usual. Huey is watching. He's got a look of concern on his face. He's watching on TV from his apartment. Todd is watching with what appears to be exhilaration. What do you think's going on there with him?
I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank on who Todd.
This is Monique's forgettable boyfriend.
Yeah. Him. I'm curious about him with that reveal. Is he a plant?
Maybe something's going on.
Like, is he Vought?
Maybe.
Because that look was really there's no telling, because they went to a lot of trouble to show us that, and thank you. I just couldn't remember the name, but that for them to show that, this show doesn't tend to throw away a lot of stuff. So I am curious. He's Vaught. He's a soup.
Maybe it's going to be out of left field. Maybe he's like a serial killer, crazy guy.
Because I am afraid of something that I have. Like I said, I've read something that leads me into spoiler territory, and this may lead to that. And I don't hope.
But that's a pending thing that needs to be settled, because that really stuck out to me.
Yeah. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Starlight steps back and is watching Homelander from behind, and she, like Huey, also looks concerned. And what a way to end the episode, man.
Yes. For some reason, this reminds me, I even looked and I just can't put my finger, but that kind of shot where you feel like, I don't know how to put it, where I guess it's a real separation between the person addressing the audience and the audience. And there's this gulf shown by the way this is shown. I don't know how to, put my finger to that. And what it reminds me of, I feel like I've seen it before, but it's real 70s, 80s, and it's not a bad thing either. It was one that was a really kind of a used tool, but I just can't put my finger on it.
I know exactly what movie I remember it from.
Tell me.
It was I can't remember the name of it, but I'm looking it up right now. Okay. 1994 quiz show. Ralph Fiennes.
Oh.
It is.
That's a Robert Redford directed movie.
When he is admitting at the end to having cheated, they use this shot.
So you don't see the audience. You don't know who he's talking to.
You know who he's talking to,
what
but
I
just remember this shot specifically. Yeah.
Okay. That may be what I'm thinking of, because I've seen that, but it's been a long time. But that may be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. There might have been other ones too.
Yeah. I'm sure they probably used it before. I mean, I don't think there's much new invented on camera shots, strangely enough.
I can't believe that movie's from 1994, man. How old am I? Gosh.
I graduated high school in 1987.
Man. Okay. All right. But yeah, I love that ending of that episode. That speech was, it's got me I'm ready to see what comes next. That's a kind of a cliffhanger ending. Yeah.
I'm excited.
So what are your standout moments?
The whole Not Without My Porpoise ad and with Billy Zane as Alistair is magnificent. It's so bad. It's great.
Yeah. The accent, the whole promo. Yeah. Love it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's so, I want to see it. I want to see the movie. I actually want to see this terrible movie. Mm-hmm. It's just that great. And the A-Train and Seth thing is kind of funny. And we talked about I was wondering if they padded him up, but I saw that he put some weight on for another show. But a lot of exposition. But I liked MM and Monique, his tics and twitch. Mm-hmm. I felt so bad. It was hard to watch him. But seeing her be cool, that's why I think something bad's going to happen. It's like you don't be cool. All of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, she's being cool. Kind of worried by that, I was shocked, but it's nice. But
okay, so this whole Monique thing, now that she's not necessarily depending on him as like the provider in the house, maybe that has kind of let her step back and evaluate him differently. Do you think that has something to do with it?
I think so. Yeah, because she seemed. I mean, there was something. There was a very genuine. Like I said, I was shocked by. You know, I expected some sympathy for how he. You know, she doesn't want to see him. That's the father of
Mhm.
of her child. She doesn't want to see him be in this kind of shape. But to see her reaction here was just like, wow, she knows a lot more. She's learned a lot more apparently about herself
Mhm.
and about him, I think.
Yeah. You know, not everybody's like that though. Where just because
No.
it's the father of their child, some people are very bitter and vindictive, you know. So it's good to
Yes.
see that she's not like that.
Absolutely.
But not everybody's like that. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
it made me like her. Yeah, and trust me, from my own experience with my late wives and my in-laws, those
Mhm.
people, yeah, I told you, she felt like
Mhm.
she took
Mhm.
Beaver to the wrong side of the
Right.
tracks.
Okay. Yeah, it really hurt me to see going through that. I was feeling it with him. Yeah.
Now, the scene that was hard to watch, but it was hard to watch him just
Mhm.
butcher beat gunpowder to death with his bare hands was hard. The heat vision thing was funny. I thought that was okay because, but that, like I mentioned this earlier, but that hand to hand stuff feels so much like when he killed
Mhm.
Mesmer. It's real. It feels so real. You know, it's so that's why it's so tough. You feel like you
Yeah.
just watch someone get beat to death. So
Mhm. The Brave Maeve Inclusive Kingdom was a highlight for me. There were so many good Easter eggs in there.
it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I could do with that as a picture. That's so good. It's so funny seeing and seeing Kamiko's
Oh yeah, she's
face
in
as she
delight,
walks in
man.
there. She is
That
so
was
happy,
the definition of
and it's
delight.
like
Yes.
that's delight.
Let's tie that whole
There you
episode
go.
together.
There you go.
That is
Nice,
delight.
beautimous, nicely done, sir.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
episode's title is delight. That's
Yeah. And
beautiful.
then finally for me, Homelander
Oh,
reaching his breaking point and that speech at the end. It is
yes.
pretty epic.
Mm, it was. I loved it, and it's out
Mhm.
in the open now.
Mhm.
It's out there. He's just crazy, or for better or for worse, whatever it is, he's
He's
out
out
there.
there and he doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He's going to do what he wants.
Nope. And I'm kind of eager to see. I'm like you. I'm eager
Yeah.
to see for after this
Great.
setup.
Cool. You have any
So
final thoughts
great
before we drop
episode, dude.
on? Yeah. Good job tonight.
No, that's it, dude. No, good,
Cool.
great
All right.
show,
Thanks,
great
man.
show.
We thank you all for joining us today.
Again, we really like to thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we've had a really great time talking about the topic today.
If you would like to support our show, you can find us at horsefrogproductions.com, where you can find our Patreon link. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description.
And if you'd like to contact us through email, it's at contact@horsefrogproductions.com.